Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Real Talk episode 85. Today we have an episode breaking down Challengers. We're going to be reviewing the new film from Luca Guadagnino starring Zendaya, Josh O'Connor, Mike Weiss that everyone's talking about right now. And then in spirit of Luca Guadagnino's latest film, we're going to be going through his full filmography, running through it, giving our thoughts and reviews on all his films so far, talk a little bit about his upcoming projects. He has a ton coming. Then we'll give our ranking for his filmography as well, from worst to best, how we all stack up his current films. Then we're going to go through some movie trailers, movie news. Somewhat lighter week this week on trailers and movie news compared to what we've had in the past, but there's still definitely some we want to hit on. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. Shout out to our executive producers as always, Stefan Johnson, Stefan Nieberick, and Sean Morales. Thank you all for making this podcast happen each and every week. Shout out to all of you. If you want to check out our Patreon, links are in the description as always. Lots of cool stuff over there. Our Discord is getting better and better every single week. We are adding more channels, more stuff to do in it, fun stuff. It's the greatest Discord in the world, the greatest movie Discord ever created. And it's just getting better. So go ahead and join it. Check it out in the description down below. But with that, we'll get into how we've been doing. We're going to start with George because you've been gone the past 2 weeks, busy watching Top Gun Maverick. How have you been? What have you been up to?
That's why he wasn't here.
Yeah, I missed the last 2 weeks strictly to watch Top Gun Maverick like 4 times. No, I'm good. It's been a while. It's been a while since I chatted with you guys. I was on the Psycho real quick. But obviously we don't talk about how we're doing and shit in that episode. That's more so just a quick movie review. So I'm happy to be back. I've been good. 2 weekends ago, I took off because it was my birthday weekend. I was in Jersey visiting a couple of friends, and then that Sunday, my family came to the city to spend like half the day with me. Obviously, in like the eyes of like my mom and my dad and my grandma, very important birthday this year. So yeah, that was that weekend. Last weekend, I was in Providence, Rhode Island for one of my best friends' engagement parties. So shout out Matt and Rachel, handsome Matt, beautiful Rachel. Very, very excited for their wedding next May. I love the two of them dearly.
Some reason I think we thought it was your engagement party because I think on last week's episode we said like hope you're having a great like engagement party this weekend because we thought
no, we didn't. I'm sure we mentioned it was his friends. I'm sure we did.
Yeah, definitely. We know George well. Yeah.
Also, you don't think I would invite you guys to my engagement party?
Well, considering I live across the world, it'd be.
You would still get an invite out of respect, like
out of principle.
That'd be crazy if I didn't invite you guys. But no, it was a really fun weekend. It's like one of the first weekends in a while where like all of my like core group of college friends and all of our significant others have been together in like one area for one weekend. So it was really fun. Really, really fun weekend. Had a great time. In between work, we have a big conference coming up in like a week and a half. So there's just been it's been very stressful. It's been a lot of work, a lot to prepare for. It's also around like the year anniversary of them hiring me. So there's a lot of like yearly updates, where's George and his team kind of sitting right now, that I'm kind of like putting together. And then on top of that, I just hired someone new. So I've been training her over the last 2 weeks. So there's a lot of things coming together at work all at once. So very busy, very stressful. Still obviously making time for movies. But yeah, it's been good. It's been good. It's been a while, so I'm just happy to be back.
Seth, how about you? How are you doing?
Good. Work week. I went to the Fall Guy premiere on Monday. Mm-hmm. Really, really good event actually. Saw my boy Ryan in the flesh, and Aaron Taylor Johnson is so handsome. It's kind of crazy.
Some people say I look like him.
Yeah, shut up, George. The event was really good. Met some people. Bumped it briefly. Spoke to the guy who plays what's his name, Benedict Wong, in Sunshine.
Did
Marvel.
You say all right, man?
Say again?
Did you say all right, man?
I think so. I actually did. I think because Josiah met him like an event a few weeks ago.
Yeah, at that Netflix.
Yeah, and he came up to Josiah and he was like, "Yo," and he was like, "Oh, okay." And I was like,
"Okay, Josiah."
Yeah.
Josiah, big dick in everyone right now.
I know. In front of all those people, and I was next to Josiah and I said, "I probably did say, hey, man. Like, honestly, I think in mind, I probably did."
Right, man.
Right, man. There were so many people there. like I put on Twitter, like I was at one point I was just like sat watching the film, and I looked to the right of me, and John Krasinski is like a meter away from me, just eating popcorn. That was kind of cool. And like I saw like loads of boxes there, footballs. It was a weird event. I don't know why it's one of those events where I feel like they tried to get everyone. You know what I mean? Like a lot of big names. Not sure why. I met one of the guys from the Pulp Kitchen podcast, the one that I can't remember if it was Anthony or James who was down here from Raiders. They went to London and did a film, and they met up with them. Mm-hmm. They're really nice guy. Met a lot of people there. The event was good. The film, I'll kind of briefly touch on what we've been watching. Go through it on there. Not great. But yeah, the event was really, really good. Apart from that, just busy work week. That's pretty much it this week.
And then Cam is still gone right now, so we'll skip over him. But I'm sure he's been doing just the greatest in the world, no issues,
and Cam.
Perfect life. Yeah. But yeah, let's see. For my week, been solid, nothing crazy. Been crazy grinding the Trivia 10, recording a ton of episodes, prepping for those. That's taken a ton of time, but all going very well. And today going to do more Trivia 10 stuff, and then NBA and NHL playoffs have been a blast to watch. Loving playoff hockey and playoff basketball. But other than that, nothing too crazy has been going on this week. I have another work trip in like 3 weeks from now, so still decently in the future, but going to DC for that. But just trying to get as much done before I head to DC for a few days. But that should be fun. Always fun to visit the nation's capital. Fun Alamo Draft House there that I went last time I was there, and I'll probably revisit next time that I'm there. But yeah, let's go into what we've been watching now. We'll start with George again. We know you've been watching Top Gun Maverick 70 times, but what else has been ticking off?
Excuse me. Top Gun Maverick. I don't even know how to explain like how my thoughts changed up so much on that movie. I've been rewatching a lot lately, and I've just been absolutely loving it. Just every single scene, it just absolutely fucking bangs. So don't be surprised if I log that a few more times over the next couple of weeks. But other than that, I've been running through Luca Guadagnino's filmography over the last couple of days. Later in this episode, we'll obviously run through that and talk about each film. So I'll reserve my thoughts. Couple of rewatches, 9 Days and Almost Famous. You guys know how much I love Almost Famous. I think it's like the greatest thing ever created. And 9 Days, one of those directorial debuts over the last couple of years that I just don't think is talked about enough. I think Edson Oda has just this really endearing and sweet outlook on life, and 9 Days is a really emotional film. One scene in particular just makes me absolutely cry, and I won't mention it in case no one's seen it. Couple of just like light rom-coms. I watched Set It Up with Zoe Deutsch and Glenn Powell, just trying to expand my Daddy Powell filmography. Very excited for Twisters, obviously. Can't Hardly Wait. Just a fun 90s high school comedy. Not one of the best that you'll see, but for what it is, it was a good time. Rewatched Francis Ha. George Lucas. For some reason, I never knew he was responsible for American Graffiti. I had no idea that was a part of his filmography. I wish he did more of those like high school, just vibey films, because I really didn't enjoy it. Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I knew what the film was. I just had no idea it was George Lucas until I clicked on the Letterboxd page when I was watching it. So yeah, I wish he had done more like vibey films, because I really enjoyed American Graffiti. Shout out our boy Nalbus. I watched a couple of wuxia movies that he recommended. I started with Hero. Hero was really, really good.
Yeah, I need to watch
absolutely breathtaking visually. But then it's also just like this really expansive biblical journey, and it was just such an insane experience. I also watched Wong Kar-wai's The Grandmaster, as well as I believe it's King Hu. Oh no, Zhang Yimou's Shadow.
Is that the 2018 one? Because it's the right one. I think I've seen it as well.
Yeah,
I need to rewatch that. I haven't watched it for a few years. Really, really good.
Really good, really cool. I DM'd Nalbus. I told them I'm upset I watched Hero so early into my wuxia journey, because like I I can't imagine there's a better movie out
is
there.
that the same guy? I didn't even realize.
Because Zhang Yimou, kind of a goat. But Hero was unbelievable. Shadow was really cool, really good. The Grandmaster, if you like that Wong Kar-wai like meditative style filmmaking, it's kind of a more reserved take on Ip Man. Nalbus basically said Ip Man, like the actual movie, is more of a blockbuster, where Wong Kar-wai's Grandmaster is more of an art house film. So kind of comes down to what you prefer. I think I would pick the Grandmaster, but I also I really like Wong Kar-wai. And then the Spider-Mans, Spider-Man 1 and 2 in theaters. Absolutely electric experience. My shout out both my theaters. The first one was in Times Square. The second one was in Lincoln Square. You guys showed up as audience members. Absolutely just so much fun listening to you guys like react to everything. This episode drops Monday. So tonight on Monday, we're seeing, unfortunately, one of the worst live action Spider-Man films in Spider-Man 3.
Fuck you. Do you mean one of the best? How dare you?
I'm not a part of that revisionist history.
You will like it better.
Listen,
though. I will.
This is what I keep saying. I am very excited to watch it on the big screen. I genuinely am. I think it'll help enhance my experience with this movie, but I don't know if it's going to like do wonders on it for me to rate it higher.
What do you have it as now? A 3?
I think I have it a 2.5 star right now.
I think you'll go up to 3.5.
We'll see.
Honestly, seriously, with age, as you get older, you like it more.
I truly hope that is the case. And then Pitch Perfect. We'll end there. I watched Pitch Perfect. Absolutely fun movie. Just electric. The riff off, so dope. Adam Devine, hilarious. I really feel like, I don't know. Pitch Perfect is like just one of the most like rewatchable movies out there, or at least I'll go as far as saying like one of the most rewatchable comedies that we've seen over the last like decade and a half, maybe, especially like ever since like the golden age of like comedies like kind of like fell away in like 2000s. I feel like we haven't gotten a lot of like great comedies with high rewatch value in like the 2010s and 2020s, but I feel like Pitch Perfect, it's a good movie. That is a very rewatchable movie. Anna Kendrick, just love her. I wish she was in more films, or at least, I mean, she's in a lot of films. I wish she was in more meaningful films, not to sound like a douchebag talking about her filmography, but they're a bunch of forgettable crap mostly. But yeah, that's about it. That's what I've been watching. Shout out Top Gun Maverick.
Nice. And Cam's not here, but I know he would agree with you wholeheartedly with the Pitch Perfect take that you just had. Seth, what have you been watching this past week?
Yeah, I watched a bunch of stuff. I rewatched Cure again, the 3rd time. That is like, you've seen it. Yeah, I know you watched it ages ago, George, didn't you? Maybe like last year or something.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
That is like cemented. I've seen it 3 times this year. It's like cemented as one of my favorite films of all time. I think it's like genius. I think it's fucking amazing. Watched last night Late Night with the Devil. I thought it was fine, like a 3-star. Spider-Man 2, we watched that again. I watched Spider-Man last week and Spider-Man 2 this week because obviously I'm just jealous that I can't see it in cinemas. So that's kind of sad. Watched Cool Brian De Palma's, watched Snake Eyes with Nicolas Cage, loved it. Also watched High Mom as well with De Niro. Thought it was fine. I watched the Day After Trinity documentary.
That's good.
Interesting. Yeah, really interesting. Because I've obviously I know, the basic stuff, and I always have, but yeah, it was really interesting. I liked it.
Yeah. They should make a movie about that.
They should, actually. That'd be pretty good. Yeah. And then the sequel it. I watched The Fall Guy, which
so jealous.
It's not good.
Dude, stop it. I just don't buy it.
It's really like,
okay, I have mutuals giving this 4.5 stars.
Is it Harry? Yeah, I have Harry too, giving it 4.5 stars. I think that no. I think that it is like a crowd pleaser or whatever. I think that everyone is pretty bad in it, apart from Emily. Emily Blunt's like fine. Ryan Gosling is quite funny. He just has that charisma to be funny. Like he's just that guy. I need to watch Nice Guys. Actually, they're showing that in cinemas. They're doing like a.
Yes, you do, you coward.
No, I am. They're doing like a. They're showing like every Ryan Gosling film in cinemas near me. So I'm gonna go watch like Blade Runner.
Hey,
Nice
that's
Guys.
Perfect for us.
For our next episode, yeah. Next week, to pimp our next episode 86. We're doing a Ryan Gosling special.
And I'm going to watch what's the other one? Place Beyond the Pines. Haven't seen that either, so they're showing that. So I'm excited to see that one. Yeah, the Fall Guy is interesting. It's obviously not to compare it, but like Bullet Train, I would say it's worse, definitely.
Bullet Train.
I didn't love Bullet Train. I think Bullet Train's fine. I think Bullet Train's fine. I think it's fine. In fact, no, I don't. I think it's a 3.5. I think it's pretty good. But I think that Fall Guy is like significantly less entertaining. It's a 2-hour film that feels very, very, very long. It's an obvious like thank you to stuntmen and performance, which is great. Winston Duke gave this really philosophical speech before, which was really, really cool. I'm not sure if it was off the rip if he had it scripted, but that man is just like crazy cool. Do you know what I mean? Like what he was wearing, cool guy. But it's very messy, very, very, very messy. It's not very funny. It like falls into like the classic kind of blockbuster trap. I think I said in my review of like this meta humor, which doesn't really land very often. Like it does land sometimes. Sometimes it got a little bit of chuckle at me. But I think it says it all. The guy, I wasn't lying about this on Twitter. The guy sat next to me. The first 30 minutes, he was like laughing a lot. And I was into the first 30 minutes. And then he was just, you know, that thing where you like fall asleep, but then you like come back up again and you like come back up all the time. That's what he was doing for like an hour and a half. And that like was literally the film for me. It was really dull. There are some funny and heartfelt moments. And Ryan Gosling kind of brings Ryan Gosling energy, I guess, to save it. But it's not good. I don't think it's very good at all. I'm actually What?
How hot is Ryan Gosling in person? Like, how sexy is he?
Very, very. But Aaron Taylor Johnson's sexier. He's like crazy. He's like, he has this aura, you know what I mean? And then Emily Blunt as well. She's even better. But yeah, I am quite surprised, to be honest, that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Bullet Train got good reception on release, didn't it? Like,
I think people like it.
It's like Twitter period.
Bullet Train bangs.
I think Bullet Train's pretty good. I quite like Bullet Train, but I think this is like significantly worse than Bullet Train. I didn't love Bullet Train to begin with. I think it's fine. I think it's good. But I think that, yeah, this is I'm quite surprised a lot of people are loving this so far. Anyway, I'm intrigued to see where this is going to land once it gets general release. When is general release? Is it this week or next week? Oh,
this upcoming weekend, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm going to say, guess right off the bat, Cam will probably give it a 5. No, Cam will give it. No, Cam will give it a 3.5. George will give it a 3.5.
Can I say something that'll make you change that? I will be rocked watching that movie.
Oh, you'll give it a 2.5 then. I think you'll be bored, even more so. Honestly, I don't think that's going to be a positive for the film. I really don't.
Crazy.
No, I really don't, George. You'll see what I mean. George 3.5. Cam 3.5. Tyler 3. That's my final predictions. Okay, but yeah, it's pretty meh. 2.5 for me. Josiah liked it, I think, a bit, but everyone else is kind of the same as I am, like a 2.5, 3. That kind of. I think it'll probably set around there as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, I'm rewatching In Betweeners as well, Tyler, with Anna for the first time.
Oh yeah, the show or the movies?
Yeah, the show. There's a few episodes she hasn't seen before, and it's just fucking hilarious.
Love that show. Love that show so much. Cam, give us a little 2-for-1. How have you been doing this week, and what have you been watching?
Sorry, Cam. Can I just say one thing? I just saw George's log. Yeah,
on what?
I'm like that.
I love
George. I completely forgot. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know why I watched it.
Because I know
Seth
you
is the lowest on the Fall Guy of all the people I follow, which isn't a ton. By one full star.
All the other people that have seen it,
so Kozer, I think is how to pronounce his name. Kozer. Okay. Josiah, you, James from Raiders, Sydney, and Kit Laser.
Okay, fair enough. I think you'll probably like it. But yeah, what I was saying was
they're all at a 3.5 for the most part, other than James from Raiders is at a 4, but everyone else is a 3.5. Pretty standard. But
yeah, George just logged Sasquatch Sunset, which made me laugh. I know you did. Did you do an ad for it, George? I think you did, didn't you? Or like,
yeah, I did. I did an ad for it, and when I did that ad, they had sent me a screener, and I just never watched it because I just wasn't in the mood. And then last night, after I watched Set It Up, it wasn't that late. It was like 11 maybe, and I was like, well, I don't want to start like a like a real movie.
So
I
I
just laid in bed and I started watching Sasquatch Sunset, and it's a weird movie.
You
man.
needed to be intoxicated. I'm gonna say watching that.
I was, and it kind of just it made me like really uncomfortable. Like it was a very uncomfortable movie, but not in like a good horror like uncomfortable way, like the way like Hereditary is like makes you feel uncomfortable. This makes you feel uncomfortable where you're like, I want to stop watching what I'm watching.
Yeah.
But like I don't want to give it a
Sasquatch PPs, right?
Oh, you see pretty much everything there is to see within the life of Sasquatch. Yeah, it's gross. It's just like gross.
I think I saw one review that's like you see bodily fluids you like forgot even existed. I don't even know what that means.
That's disgusting. So wrong.
This is going to be like one of those things that's just such a polarizing graph, isn't it? I'm quite looking forward to the
I don't know. I don't know how people can watch this and be like, yeah, that was fucking good.
But Cam, how have you been doing? What have you been watching? Give us a rundown.
I'm fine. I'm good. No complaints this week. I'll speed through. We don't have a ton of time, but I'm good. Good week with the fam. No travel back home and everything. Had a good week at work. It's nice when you're traveling. Like I was I went on vacation one week, and then the very next week I traveled for training. So it's nice to get back to a normal week of work. But yeah, it was a pretty simple week. I watched Spider-Man 3. Still don't get it. I don't get it. It's not a good movie.
Everyone's
why did you watch it?
I'm just watching them all right now. Just
because
the re-releases.
I thought you'd go to cinema to watch it. Because of that.
Here's the thing. I only get to go to theaters like once a week, y'all. I got family. No. I saw that. I watched that on Disney Plus. I got family. I can't be going to the cinema all the time. So I watched Spider-Man 3 because I may fuck around and go watch TASM in theaters again. TASM.
You can't not watch Spider-Man 2.
No, TASM is the first Spider-Man I saw in theaters because I don't think I ever went to the first 3 in theaters like as a kid. And so like it's not great, but it has a special place in my heart. I really, really love it. Like I said, it's not great, but it's got a special place in there. And then TASM 2 was, again, I saw it in theaters. And that's one of those movies where I was like still like young in high school. So it was probably my freshman it was probably my sophomore year of high school. I'm trying to think when TASM 2 came out.
2014. I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, so that might be my freshman year. I graduated in 2017, so no, sophomore year. And I still like thought every movie was good probably at that time. And that's like one of the early, I think that movie sucked watches of my life. But I'll rewatch those soon. But then I watched last week, like right after the pod, The Little Mermaid with Bailey. He wasn't as into it as he was, from what I've heard, Cars and then Nemo. He still asks for all the time. But he wasn't as into a big Cars guy. He was a fan of that. He likes Cars right now, though. He only understands so many things. So like he likes cars, he likes planes, he likes boats, he likes motor vehicles, so he was big into cars. But didn't care for Little Mermaid as much as I do. Big fan of that movie. Watched The Kingsman: Secret Service, which is just such a fun watch. Always just such a great time.
From the Twisted Mind of Matthew Vaughn.
Yeah, and then I made a video on like, what the fuck did you do, Matthew Vaughn? Like, how did you mess up so bad?
Dude, speaking of TikTok videos, your Zack Snyder video had me crying. The one where it was like,
that's
guess
what we did
what
last
movie?
week. Yeah, that's what we did last week. It was funny. I'm gonna start doing the videos some more. Because you can get some good. Sorry, I was watching TikTok. I was going to my TikTok. You can find some fun like reviews on Letterboxd, so I'm going to do those more.
Should have done that with Luca today, actually.
We should have. I don't know how much time we have for Luca, but then I watched a bunch of Lucas and Mad Max, and that's about it this week. Yeah, it was a fine week of watches. But
nice for me, mostly just watching Luca's filmography this week, but outside of that, watched In Time, like late Sunday night. I was scrolling TikTok, and that's very much a TikTok movie, just like Moneyball. Clips are always there. Yeah, Justin Timberlake and Amanda Seyfried. It's the one where like time literally is money, and you pay for things with time, and you get like 1 day of time, and you earn more time and pay things with time. Very just like literally, I said this in my review. It's like the writer was like, someone told the writer like time is money. And he's like, wait, say that again. He's like, time is money. He's like, dude, that's a great idea for a movie. Very just on the nose to be like, look, like capitalism and money running out, like it's so much more intense when you just view it as time instead of money. It was very, very mediocre. Then a lot of Luca, like I said, watched The Beach, kind of like the meme, like party's still over and he's still here. Because my near-term watch list was to watch all like the Alex Garland movies, and The Beach is a novel he wrote that was adapted into a film with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tilda Swinton. So I was planning on watching that before we did our Alex Garland episode, but I didn't. But I was like, it was still on my near-term watch list. I'm like, whatever, we'll watch The Beach. Fine movie. Apparently Alex Garland's making it into a TV show now, which is interesting because also fitting with the Luca episode, because Luca has Lord of the Flies in production. It's very much like a Lord of the Flies type movie. Like it very much seems like it's based on the book, which is why I'd be interested to see the Alex Garland novel, because to me, I've read Lord of the Flies back in grade school, and it felt very similar to that. So I don't know how many differences there could be with the book that Alex Garland wrote, but The Beach is fine. Always fun to see young Tilda Swinton, or younger Tilda Swinton, and young Leonardo DiCaprio. Then I watched Lost in Translation. Weird movie. I feel like Scarlett Johansson's aged so like her face has been like the same for just decades. So like she's 17 in this, which is just very creepy because she's like with Bill Murray. But like I didn't even realize she was 17 until I looked it up, because like her face to me just looks like basically just like the same exact like she just looks like pretty much the same today in terms of like her face. So I was like, damn, she's 17 in this. That's crazy. She's younger than I expected she was, because I feel like she's been, like in top tier movies for so long at this point. Yeah. Just a very well-known name. But yeah, just kind of creepy that she's with Bill Murray in that movie, or very creepy that she's with Bill Murray. And then the only other non-Luca film I watched this week was, I watched Suspiria, the original, to prepare for the Luca version. Loved the original Suspiria. Dario Argento, my first film from him.
You can stop there.
Brilliant. No, I'm gonna watch.
I watched Opera. Actually, Opera's really good. I'll tell you
Opera's good.
It's really good.
Opera is better than Suspiria.
Chill.
Owen hates that take of yours. He hated when you said that. He texted me privately and he's like, "No, watch all of Argento. Argento's one of the best who's ever been."
Because he's so mid after Opera and sorry, there's one more I like. I can't remember it now. But
I'll definitely have to watch Opera, because I know Alex Coleman's been like the king opera stan for a long time.
Opera is really good. It's really good.
And then the only other non-Luca was A Quiet Place. Hadn't seen it before. Riley's she'd never seen it either, but she loves like creature movies, creepy stuff like that. And she was like, she knew she was gonna love it. She did end up loving it. But we're kind of prepping. She's very excited for A Quiet Place day one, just like she is for Furiosa. So we already watched Mad Max, and we're going to rewatch that with her eventually soon. And then we still have to watch Quiet Place Part 2, which some people I've talked to said they like it more in the Part 1, but I don't know how you guys hold that up. But for me, it was fine. It was 3.5 stars. Good movie, nothing great. But Riley really liked it. But yeah, that's it. Just a lot of Luca this week. So that took up most of my movie watching time. So that'll be a good transition to get us into our review of the week, which is Challengers, the buzziest movie on social media right now. Everyone's talking about it, but it's making like a couple nickels and a quarter at the box office. Like it's very much an online movie. It's not doing great with general audiences. Challengers, Tashi, a former tennis prodigy turned coach, turned her husband into a champion, but to overcome a losing streak, he needs to face his ex best friend and Tashi's ex-boyfriend. So it's starring Zendaya, who is Tashi Duncan. Mike Weiss and Josh O'Connor are these dueling tennis stars who were, childhood best friends. And you kind of unfolds this decade-spanning romance throuple, just combat between these three as they kind of figure out what their life is going to become, what their career is going to become, as they all strive for trying to become tennis champions. But obviously, it's Luca Guadagnino's latest film. Let's go ahead and get into it. We're kind of different here on where we landed on it, so it should be interesting to get into. But I'm actually going to start with Cam, because he was the last of us to see it, and I was kind of surprised that I didn't think, Cam, you were going to like it as much as you did. So give me your thoughts on Challengers. Because he's the last one, and I was like, oh, well, George is, we're all different. I'm like, oh, I think Cam's going to fall on one side, but he didn't. Cam, Challengers, thoughts?
This is the best movie ever, man. This is so fucking
real.
It is awesome. It's so awesome. Just every time, like this is man. I love Dune. I love Dune 2 so much, and I still think Dune 2 is better. But this is the coolest score of all time. That techno like beat that like plays the entire movie and then just cuts at moments and then just picks up again. And I was listening to it yesterday while I was like doing mulch. It's so awesome. What an awesome score. There are moments in this where like there was a dog barking in my theater because of how sexy this movie is. Like there are people hooting and hollering. The ending is fun. I think if you know like tennis, like you very much know who won the point, and it's funny that sorry, I guess that's a spoiler, so we'll talk that later. I do think it's
obviously
very
someone
funny.
wins the point. You didn't steal it.
Yeah, I didn't say who does. Someone wins a point. But like there's people on like Twitter and on YouTube and stuff like breaking down who wins the point. I'm like, this is like just understand tennis points. It's not that difficult. But yeah, just what a fucking movie. Not a spoiler, but at one moment you get a POV of the ball in tennis. Fucking awesome. The coolest thing ever. Like it could be so corny. It's the coolest thing ever. George, I know is about to come in with the exact opposite take, and I can't wait for it. But what am I even trying to say? Oh, I just saw like a tweet of like the B movie where Barry is flying on the tennis ball. That's exactly what it is, but it's just incredible. There's a shot that's under the tennis court where they're dribbling and you get the like below look at tennis. So awesome. Just every bit of this is incredible. I love when they have like the wide angle of tennis and it's just very clearly not the two actors. It's like they put in tennis doubles. The Fall Guys, if you will. The only person I think who was actually at any point hitting the ball was Zendaya. I don't think they're Mike Feist. Feist? Is that how it's pronounced?
I think so.
Or O'Connor or Josh O'Connor were hitting the ball at any point. But Zendaya actually, like you have shots of her hitting it, which are close up. So I think she's the only one that's actually playing tennis. She's awesome. All-time actress that can look 19 or 42. Just an all-time can look either age actress. Mike Feist and Josh O'Connor, they kind of look like 40 when they're playing the 19-year-old version or 18-year-old.
I disagree. I think they did the ages pretty well. Yeah, I think they did the ages really well.
I mean, they give Josh O'Connor a beard, right? And then they just give them both like longer hair. That's like the classic, like de-age them without de-aging them, you know. But Zendaya, I think she pulls off both ages perfectly. I think her and Tom Holland could do that, and they're like, of course, dating, and I think they do that really well.
Tom Holland couldn't look old.
Or I think he looks old in like Cherry. I think he looks older.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong, but he also looks like 18 like half the time as well. But yeah, I think it's the split diopter right shot.
I don't think that is a split diopter. I know what you mean. I don't know what it's called.
Split diopters, right? You're supposed to look one is close, one is far away, right? Is what it is. Like you're using two lenses to get the focal.
The way they did that was a visual effects shot, but it's to mimic a split diopter. So
yeah, it's not an official split diopter.
It's better than any shot in Dune.
Whatever, it fucking bangs. Whatever.
It's so awesome, man.
When I saw that, I got so excited in my seat. I was like,
Emma really loved this movie, which, like I said, is pretty rare. But just awesome, like to go to a movie with her actually enjoy it at the end. The scores, like just vibing every time it came on. You're vibing it with it in the theater. Man, I love this thing. It was so fantastic, and just the ending, like it's really corny. The ending's very corny. Don't get me wrong. It's awesome. I love it. It's just girls are temporary. The boys will last forever. So just never forget.
Yeah, and We'll go
95 out of 100. 95 out of 100.
Was it ever a 96? Did you change it? Because I swear that when you first put it, I thought I saw 96. Maybe I'm tripping.
Maybe it is a 96, and I just said 95, but no, I think it's a 95. Okay. I think it's always been that.
95 out of 100 from Cam. But yeah, we'll keep it high level like Cam did, just because I feel like a lot of stuff we're about to disagree on and like discussing the film deeper, we're gonna have to get into spoilers on. So we'll go high level here, and we'll go to George now. George, thoughts on Challengers, your overall review. Again, keep it super high level, just because I think when we get into the heat of it, it'll be in the spoiler section here.
That's fair. That's fair. I've never felt more in a corner than I do right now. I truly just have never felt like more like on the outside than I do with my Challengers review. Everyone walking out of that theater was like smiling and just like in awe of what they had just seen, and I was pissed. I was like really upset with my experience with this film and like the end product that I was given. I texted you guys this. It has nothing to do with the film. I think it just has to do a lot with like my taste and my preferences. Like I will never I tweeted yesterday like about one scene. I ended up deleting that tweet because like this isn't a movie I want to like ruin people's happiness over. Like when people are tweeting defending Madam Web, I'm going to try to ruin their happiness. But like for Challengers, I don't really care to like ruin people's happiness. Like I'm really happy people are enjoying this. It's the style of drama. It's that exaggerated soap opera-esque drama. The same shit you saw in May, December that I really just, I don't like. It's so corny to me. And again, I know people get upset when you throw the word corny out, especially when a film like Challengers, it's intentionally corny. I understand that. It still just doesn't work for me. I really just, there's nothing for me to latch onto. There's nothing for me to care about. Everything is just, it's so cringy. It makes my skin crawl. I even said in my Letterboxd review, every time that techno score came on, I wanted to walk out of the theater.
Fuck you, man. Fuck you.
Yeah.
That's such a bad take. You're dumb. You're dumb.
I swear that fucking score was the most painfully, agonizingly annoying thing I have ever heard. Dude, it came on at like the stupidest moments ever.
No. What the hell? I want to ruin your May. I want to ruin your joy about this movie, George. That's awesome. That score is so good.
I have joy about this movie. Oh, fuck.
Joy is so good.
I've never wanted to just like give a movie like a high rating just because I don't want to be on the outside. Like even walking out of the theater, I was like, that movie stunk, but like I still might give this a 3.5 or a 4 just because I want to be involved. But like the more I thought about it, the more I was like, damn, I really fucking hated that. Again, shout out our boy K Meeks. I love him. He tweeted about like how basically like if you go to a sports movie and you expect like high quality sports scenes, you're the stupid one, which I understand. I've come to accept that.
I disagree with that.
I disagree with it too, but like
I've been involved.
I'm at the point in like tennis filmmaking where I've accepted the fact that tennis will just not look cool in film. Like I'm picking apart the most like basic things that I don't think you guys are looking at, like Zendaya. Whatever the two lead guys' names are, what are they? Mike Feist and Josh O'Connor. Their form was horrendous, and it like
dude, it really wasn't them. Zendaya
whoever it was,
and she had bad form.
Whoever it was has never played tennis in their life. Whoever taught Zendaya and Mike Feist and Josh O'Connor how to serve a tennis ball should be shot in the mouth.
You know, it was Roger Federer on set who was a tennis coordinator.
I'm sure it was.
No, it wasn't. I just want to see swallow your pride.
No, their form was like so bad. I couldn't even like, I can't look past it. You're making a film about tennis starring Zendaya. At least make the tennis look competent. Don't make it look like a bunch of 7-year-olds and telling me that they're winning Grand Slams. That's not how it works.
Okay, hold on. You know how to settle this though? This is the only way to settle this. Zendaya, come on the Real Talk Pod, face George 1v1. We'll live stream it on YouTube. Zendaya versus George in tennis.
I'm down.
Let's see
cool.
it.
This is my official call out to George. I'm taking you on tennis. Okay, I've played one match in my life. I'm in. I'm ready. It's over.
Yeah, I mean, I can't criticize this movie without like getting into spoilers, so I'll kind of wrap up like my initial thoughts there. But yeah, it's not an offensively bad movie, and I fully understand why it's being received so well. It's just not for me. It really just none of this was my style. I literally on several occasions rolled my eyes so far back in my head that I was looking at the person behind me without having turning my head. It was a tough movie to sit through. It really was, unfortunately. And I will watch it again. I definitely will watch it again. I will give it the benefit of the doubt. I just wasn't in the right headspace for the movie. But yeah, those are my non-spoiler thoughts, and I got more thoughts, but we'll get into it as we discuss spoilers.
Mr. Seth, your thoughts on Challengers?
Yeah. Well, I
level
love
up
this.
The vibes a bit. Level up the vibes.
I love this. I thought this was fucking great. I think this is.
Did we watch the same movie out of curiosity?
We did. I think so. I don't
think you did, man. You watched something else.
I don't think we watched the same movie.
We'll see. Yeah. I think this is fucking electric. Just remarkable. Just my favorite. Well, I won't say that yet. But I think this is as stylish, as suspenseful, as fucking cool exploration of sexuality, of relationships. I think the trio are just so good. It's so insightful. Every moment is interesting to me. I think it kept me on the edge of my seat the entire time. A full spectacle, as Cam was saying, especially with the ending. I think behind the camera, man, some of the stuff in this is crazy. And to be fair, in George's defense, and George, this is the only time I'll come to your defense right now. I think that melodrama, specifically, like in May, December, like George, I said, do not fucking watch Twin Peaks, George. I'm telling you that right now, ever. I think that it's melodrama is a thing where it works for you, it doesn't. And I personally really like it. I think it kind of has this exaggerated style that I really appreciate. I think a lot of the scenes needed this just incredible techno score. And I think Marta mentioned this in her review as well, and I kind of thought this as I came out. I think what Luca does so well in this is he manages the small and the big moments and kind of transitions between them. I love the non-linear storytelling. I love the back and forth. I actually thought they did really well with showing them as younger and older. I definitely think Zendaya better. Like Tyler, I think I said this to Anna as we left. I think it's quite comparable to like Kaylee Spaney and Priscilla, the way they age. Zendaya in this like really crazy efficiently, just by the use of kind of what she wears, the makeup and stuff, which is fucking impressive, really, really impressive. I think they were all just on their complete A game from start to finish. I think this is kind of a film for Zendaya to really show the talent I think she has, because there's been a lot of like discourse since this film, or at least in my comments, and my comment sections are stupid and you're all idiots, so whatever. But about Zendaya, like I had so many comments saying that she's like terrible. It's like, what the fuck are you watching, man? Like she was great in this. This works for her personally. Like she has these nuanced performances. I think this was the perfect like role she needed to take on. But yeah, I think this is a really, really insightful film. I think it's one that's just gonna develop over time. I think the more I watch this, the better it will get. Obviously, like Tyler will go into his thoughts, but I know he watched it and it got better for him, which is great. Love the score, just bouncing off my eardrums the entire time, and then kind of the silent moments during the tennis sequences as well, like that piercing silence was amazing. Love the stuff they did with the camera at the end. Got really, really excited for that. And obviously the shot the camera's referring to as well. Yeah, I love this song. It was really, really good. It's currently my number 2 of the year, obviously just behind Dune and ahead of The First Omen, my only 4.5 of the year, actually. And yeah, I think that'll probably only improve when I watch it again. I might go and watch it again this week. But that's kind of all I'm going to say, not spoilery anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. To wrap up our non-spoiler thoughts, I love Challengers. This is the type of movie I just want injected into my veins. All-time vibes movies. I've seen it twice now. Saw it on back-to-back days. The cinematography is incredible. Shout out Sayambu Muktipram. He also did. What?
He's the guy who does Uncle Boomie. Yeah.
He's worked with Luca before. He did Suspiria, which I think is also shot very well, and Call Me by Your Name as well. Those are the first two collaborations they did together. Also did 13 Lives, which I think is an underrated one from 2022. And then he's doing Trap, M. Night Shyamalan's, and then he's also going to be working with Luca again on Lord of the Flies. But cinematography is crazy in this. The third act, he really just goes God mode, where he just pulls all the tricks out of the bag, and we'll kind of talk about that a little more. But it's just rapid fire. He's like, this is going to be a cool, unique shot. And then we're going to go to something else. Like Cam mentioned, like the split diopter visual effects composite shot, the ball shot, the under the court. Like it's just back to back where he's just every trick in the book he's throwing out there. I think that it's shot incredibly well. I think the editing is very flawless as well. I absolutely love the way it's edited. Love the way the screenplay unfolds, which also plays into the editing of how this story unravels. You kind of learn more of these characters and the relationship as it goes. And for me, I didn't watch these trailers that extensively, didn't look into the film that extensively, so I didn't know the length of what this like throuple was, which everyone can tell from the trailer. It's like these three people in this love triangle, but the way it unravels and how deep it goes and how it slowly reveals its cards throughout, just how entangled these three are, I thought was really creatively done. Very well done. Obviously, it was written by the husband of Celine Song, who wrote and directed Past Lives, so very similar thematic elements there with the kind of three people in a decade spanning romance. But I think Zendaya was great. I think she was great for what she was given. I think she was given a little less than Josh O'Connor and Mike Fice in terms of her character, but I think what she was given, she did great with. Mike Fice and Josh O'Connor, love them. Cam, and we've all been kind of talking about how they not de-age, but there's different ages that to play in this. And I think it worked really well. But one thing I did get a little chuckle from was when they first showed the younger version of Mike Feist and he had the backwards cap on. And I was like, way to show someone younger. Just throw a hat on backwards. Okay, I get it now. He's supposed to be like 15 years younger because he has a backwards hat on.
It does work in your head though, doesn't it?
No, I think his curly blonde hair is really what seals it. Because when he has that just like basic ass cut and like his older version, I'm like,
he definitely looks older. You're right. I think his face is too old in the younger version.
Well, he just has such distinct like facial features, like Mike Feist as a person, that it's like hard to make look super young. But I think I just think this whole movie was so fun. Just the score, of course, we talked about it. My productivity, I've been doing so many trivia tests this week. My productivity is at an all-time high listening to Match Point. People have been talking about on Twitter, the first song on the soundtrack, you have to go in and edit that, please, and remove the iPhone alarm from the end. Just take that out for the Spotify versions. It triggers everyone when you're listening through the
It is weird when you hear it.
Yeah.
There's no need to keep that in there for the soundtrack version. Just please go ahead and edit that, remove it. Everyone is begging you to do it. But Challengers, I think is great. It's a tennis movie, but tennis is really just the vessel to carry this forward. But it's still, I see some people saying like, oh, it's not even a tennis movie whatsoever. Like still tennis is very involved. And I get, it's very much, tennis is more a vessel for the relationship and the back and forth. But it's still very much like, they are tennis stars.
Yes.
Don't compare those two movies.
No, it's like Raging Bull.
I know.
In the fact it's used as a vessel, but it's there, but it's not true. Primary focus.
But Challengers for me, it was a 4-star in first watch. The thing that kind of held it back is, like you said, the melodrama and the corniness. Because it is a corny movie. But I think for me on second watch, it really solidified that the elements of that just didn't really bother me. And more like it just plays into the film and it works really well for it. I saw it with Riley. She really didn't like it. I think she gave it a 2-star, 2.5-star. She was not a fan whatsoever. So George isn't alone. I know some other people haven't loved it as much, but I personally really liked it even more on second watch. I'm going to be watching it again. Like it might end up at a 5-star just because the story and everything involved aside, like I just love everything about just the aura and the vibes of this movie. And we'll kind of leave it there for non-spoilers.
George,
we'll get into what's up.
George, how do you not love this movie? It takes influence from your favorite director, Zack Snyder, and puts an insane amount of slow-mo in this thing. Like you should be foaming, you should be frothing at the mouth for this thing.
Maybe he was the one barking in your theater.
Yeah,
it might have been.
I like good slow-mo, dude, not just random bits of
this is
Zendaya
better. Oh my God, you're farming slow-mo, man. Farming slow-mo.
Zack Snyder's literally had slow-mo sports too, like that football final play and
oh my God,
3.5 minutes for him to go 10 yards.
That's so bad. That's the worst.
But we'll get into spoilers now because this is where we want to pull back the curtain. And shout out Wisconsin. Thank you for that, Cam.
Yeah, I got you, Tyler.
I'm so mad I didn't give that to Soups on a trivia question. I was thinking about all season, like Soups. Who did they play in the game? I forgot to. But shout out Wisconsin. But okay, spoiler time. going to start diving into the movie a little deeper now and not really be holding our tongues. If you haven't seen Challengers yet, go ahead and watch it. I think it's weird because a film like this, especially from like the trailers, you wouldn't think like spoilers would be like something that would ruin it for you. Whereas like, something like Dune or like these big blockbusters are where you're like, oh, don't spoil it for me. I don't want to be ruined. But I think Challengers, like you don't really want to know a lot of this going into it.
People on Twitter are annoying.
Dude, okay. Yeah. We'll talk about that real quick. This is one of the worst movies of all time for Twitter, where people are just tweeting everything about this movie.
It's not even like general release shit. People are tweeting like, "Oh, this shot was so cool." It's like that literally signifies one of the biggest parts of the film. What the fuck?
The one really shot. Because we're in spoilers now. The tennis racket shot was shown so many times that like
but you don't know what it. My friend messaged me and was like, "All right, you got to explain what the fuck does this mean?" Like you don't know it unless you know context of the movie.
Not that shot. I was speaking about more the the split opposite of whatever. That's such a really cool moment that I really loved experiencing. I'm seeing just people posting like this was so cool, and I posted it. I put a spoiler on it and said challenges, whatever. I think posting that's just a dickhead move, especially on the first day of release. I think just let people experience it.
I did not see that until after the movie. Luckily.
Yeah, but still, there's still opening weekend, and at this point, like
I'm shocked they got a high res of that shot. Was it in a
trailer
straight
away? Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering too. There's a lot of like gifts.
It would have to be in a trailer or a promo or something if there's already a high res.
No, it wouldn't have been in the trailer because people would have spoken about it before. Because I've seen loads about it. Maybe
it is weird how they're getting all these high res. Because I've seen a lot of gifts like the churro scene and like all this stuff.
People are quick with that though. Like people are really quick with new films. They seem to like it was the same with Dune. People just toss it straight away. I don't know how they do it. But
we'll kind of get into this. So the film itself takes place at a New Rochelle Challenger event, not too far from George's neck of the woods, where basically Mike Feist's character, we kind of realize at the beginning of the film, is married to Zendaya, and he is an ATP tennis pro, one of the best. He's trying to complete his Grand Slam. The U.S. Open's the only one he can't crack. He's tried several times. He's gotten the other 3 multiple times, I believe. I think 2 for each of them, and he just can't crack the U.S. Open. Clearly going through some major confidence issues at the beginning. So Zendaya kind of says, we're going to put you in this Challenger event, which is, for someone at his level would probably never even think about touching one of these. But he's got to rack up some wins. There's like a Cincinnati event coming up and trying to get him ready for the U.S. Open. And she's like, we just have to put you against people that you're just going to be able to pummel to get your confidence up because something's not working here. And you kind of realize very quickly that they are a married couple. They have a family. They have a daughter, I believe. But tennis is very much the key thing in their relationship here. And they go to this Challenger event, try to get his excitement up, his energy up. And then that's when you kind of get introduced to this Josh O'Connor character. You realize he's basically homeless, pretty much poor. You kind of initially, I thought like he was just like a high level non-pro, but obviously you realize later like he was arguably the more successful of the two. But that kind of sets up this feud. They're both entering this New Rochelle tennis tournament, and we'll kind of start there. So the opening of the movie, Mike Feist, a failing tennis megastar. Josh O'Connor seems like kind of a bum, honestly. Like I think at one point they hint that he's like addicted to drugs because there's one moment where he's like scratches his elbow, like kind of where like you would like inject something intravenously. So I didn't really know what the significance of that was. And he's obviously homeless and stinky, smelly, doesn't have anywhere to go. So like makes it think to me he's kind of like drugged out, down on his career, just kind of.
He was rich as well because he was rich.
Yeah, it's very clear. Like, yeah, his family is, in my opinion, on that, his family is very rich. They mention that many times, and he like refuses to go back, and he's kind of acting like this down on his luck guy almost because he refuses to go back to his family. And I think I take it as like you get in flashbacks. He's the better tennis player. He doesn't care as much. He cares more about the girls and the partying and that aspect of the tennis. And that's probably the ultimate downfall of him and why he's not as notable now. Yeah, they hint at he probably did drugs at one point. I don't think he's like tripping during this movie by any means, but they hint that he probably had some sort of downfall, like with drugs or alcohol and just partying and stuff. And what happens, once you get super famous, and he's been playing tennis his whole life, and this aspect, like he gets into that party life of it, and that's kind of what his downfall is.
Yeah, and I love how the screenplay unfolds because initially you see him checking in for the Challenger event. Josh O'Connor, when I say him, he's checking in, and she's like, "Did you hear who's going to be in this tournament?" This guy is on the racket, so obviously a big sponsor, one of the big, ATP guys in Mike Feist. And at that point, initially, like, unless you like obviously knew a lot from the trailers, it kind of reveals, like, to me, I was like, oh, it's just, he's like, oh shit, there's a really, it kind of the only reveal it kind of says like, this is a big time tennis star I'm gonna have to face against. This is really cool that he's here. But then you don't really realize like how intertwined they are until it slowly realizes like, oh shit, they were doubles partners back in the day. and then you realize, oh, they were actually best friends. Oh, they're going after the same girl.
I love non-linear shit.
Yeah, I think it worked out so well here how they were going back and forth, and just like at the slow reveal, because initially the movie starts out literally the opening shot is them playing in that tennis match, and you just ultimately think like, oh, this is for the championship. What is the stakes here? And you realize the stakes are way more than the $7,200 that they're going to end up winning for winning this. But I don't know if this is really like the best film to go just kind of like beat by beat through. So we'll just kind of start talking freely about anything in the film. But I guess we'll start with, go ahead, Seth.
I would say, I think at the start when you said that they were obviously, when they're, is it the opening part when, Zendaya is trying to speak into Mike Fice's character, and the daughter comes in and she's like, "Can we watch Spider-Verse?" I know, cancel that, but
I did see a tweet before that, like, because I saw this on Friday, I saw a tweet that was like,
classic.
This is the weirdest. Yeah, I know. This is the weirdest movie to like have a Spider-Verse.
Cam would have loved
shout out or something.
Cam
Yeah, probably would have.
If you hadn't seen. Stop tweeting shit. You can kind of tell from there on, kind of Zendaya almost, you don't know it yet, but wants to like kind of live her potential, her success through him, obviously. That was a really, really interesting scene, kind of start off from it. Go on.
I think to say you don't know it yet is a little unfair, given that like that's the major point of the trailers, like all of the trailers, is that she gets hurt.
I actually didn't watch the trailers, to be honest. So
I'm like, trailers to me go in one ear out the other because I actively try not involved. Because like to me, so much of this was I didn't know she got her knee messed up. I didn't even know what age they were during the throuple. Because in my mind, I was like, oh, maybe like they meet at this Challengers event and then it begins this three-way relationship. Like I had no clue it was going to be like.
Also, a lot of people don't watch trailers. Sorry,
that's fair. Before this scene, she's also putting lotion on her knee, and you see like the ACL surgery scar. But I see what you're saying though.
But people can come back from those, so it might just be like she's still a tennis star, but who knows? But another big thing they kind of reveal early on that's very integral to the movie is tennis first, like family and love second for Zendaya, and as a result, Mike Fice, even though you can very much tell Mike Fice is like not very much into tennis anymore, not nearly the level of Zendaya, who now lives vicariously through him. But this kind of starts this match going back and forth of these two trying to win this challenger event in New Rochelle, and you ultimately realize they met when they were younger, started a relationship. Mike Fice and Josh O'Connor were very much good friends at a boarding school before Zendaya ever even entered their lives. Mike Fice and Zendaya go off to college together in Stanford, whereas Josh O'Connor, like I think Cam might have mentioned, the better tennis player for sure. He went straight to being a pro, was on the tour right away. And you never see them go head to head except when they do the final of the what is it called? Like the young. No, when they were younger, like the single juniors, yeah. So when they go head to head, but you kind of also get hints that like Josh O'Connor's never lost to Mike Fice. Like he's always been way better, clearly the better tennis star. So he goes straight to pros, whereas the other two go off to college, and that's where they develop their relationship a little more. Cam mentioned that the injury to the knee. And I'm just trying to summarize the whole movie so we can kind of just jump around.
It's worth noting as well, like prior to this is the like sexy scene you see in the trailers that everyone got like pumped about, where they're like both kissing Zendaya's neck. So they meet her right at a party after the junior event. She wins her singles match. Their singles match is tomorrow, but they both win doubles. And they basically they meet her, and it becomes that's where the love triangle starts, is in a random hotel room. Like they're all hanging out, drinking beer. And then like they start there's very clearly bisexual undertones here of like Josh O'Connor and Mike Fice are like each other as well. And they both like, they're straight, but they definitely have like I said, some bisexual undertones because they start making out with Zendaya, and then like the scene, like you almost think in the trailer, like you almost think they're both like having sex with Zendaya when she leans back, but when she leans back, they're actually like, she almost tricks them into like making out with each other. And this is kind of where like her tennis match starts, almost, in the sense that like the entire movie is a tennis match. Like she's playing tennis throughout it. But like her career in tennis ends. So she kind of plays tennis through these two people almost. And she manipulates them in different ways in order for them to be like that's her match. Her entire life is these two people. And then notes, like she says, whoever wins tomorrow gets my number, because they both want her number. Whoever wins in the singles junior championship gets her number, which we know Josh O'Connor's character wins. Because
which is worth noting on that, they already predetermined Josh O'Connor was going to let Mike Feist win that match. And this is like, I think, very important to the overall story and the overall whose side are you on, Art or Patrick? Because Patrick doesn't seem to care as much about tennis. Like, he basically like, dude, it's the junior championships. Like, I don't really care about like going pro or anything. Like, I'll let you win. Like, whatever. Like, all I wanted to do is win this doubles with you. We're buddies. We're friends. Like, that's all. I had so much fun with that. I don't need to win this juniors championship. So I'm going to let you win, which also kind of reveals that it's very clear that even if they were both trying, Mike Feist could never beat Josh O'Connor. So Josh O'Connor is kind of just like, yeah, you know what, man, you can win. I don't need this. So it kind of very much shows that he's very much just about the friendship. Tennis isn't that much of a career for him. Whereas ultimately he goes on to win it because of, like you said, the Zendaya's like, winner gets my number. And that's when all bets are off. He's like, oh shit, I'm trying now because I want Zendaya's number, which he ultimately ends up winning because he's a better tennis player.
Very funny line is like, he says, what about letting me win? And he goes, that was a lifetime ago. And then like slaps his dick or something after. Hilarious moment. That had me dying in the theater.
Yeah, I think funny. that scene, like Cam said, it's like, it's kind of like showing that psychosexual development, like bi-curious nature that we thought. And that, sorry, just go back to this. That was what I was referring to, Cam, when I said the tweets. I forgot about that. I saw people tweet like, "Oh, my theater reacting when the guys kissed." And it's like, come on, like no one knew that going in. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, that was a really, really incredible scene, like showing the power dynamic that the Zendaya had, and like Cam said, tennis is used as a vessel, and that's like her tennis game with the two. But yeah, I thought that was a really, really interesting scene, and was a lot different than I was expecting. Also, there was a fucking really annoying girl that started laughing throughout that whole scene, like when they're kissing. Like, wow,
it was funny after, but like not during.
Yeah, but I just mean just the kissing scene. It's like, wow, it's so funny.
Yeah, that's the thing where that's the thing where some like things where George talked about he didn't love it as much with like the melodrama, because I think that when they first meet at the party and especially go down by the beach, that's a super melodramatic scene where corny, like really the dialogue back and forth is very like forced and like over the top, overly emotional, and it's kind of silly. It's not really natural. That's melodrama. That's George, like you were kind of saying. That's not wasn't your really favorite, right? And is that kind of where you first started noticing it, or were there other moments in the film where you're like, this is too campy?
Yeah, that was really melodrama.
Yeah, no, that runs across the entire film. I mean, we open up on the tennis court, and that's where I kind of like cringed for the first time. But again, that's my problem, not loving tennis in film. I think it's like you said, it's the dialogue, and the more I kind of ran through Luca Guadagnino's filmography, the more I kind of realized I don't think he like truly understands like the human experience at all. To the point where I don't know if he's ever been in like a actual serious relationship. Because a lot of this felt like it was written by like, I don't know, just an overly horny, like middle school guy.
Well, it was written by the past lives husband.
Yeah, no, I know who it was written by. I'm just saying it feels like it was written by not that guy. The relationship, I just found myself less than intrigued. I wasn't a fan of this nonlinear storytelling, jumping back and forth. I think that kind of took away from any positive progression or any positive character development. I think everything just kind of ran too quickly for me to have like a genuine like attachment to this throuple, which is a damn shame because I really do think the three of them put on great performances. And if it wasn't for their performances, I may have rated this even lower. Josh O'Connor is really fantastic. I don't think you guys have seen La Chimera yet, but it is great, and he is great in the movie. And then Mike Feist is just that's an attractive, adorable man, and I really do think he brings like this level of charm and charisma to this movie that elevates it slightly for me. I think my problem really is in the writing, and I found myself just not caring about this central throuple. And obviously, when you have a movie obviously just rotating around our three main characters and their relationships, if it doesn't land for me, the entire movie is going to kind of fall flat. There was a moment in this movie where Mike Feist said that he hadn't talked to Josh O'Connor's character in years. That kind of removed any intimacy, any tension from the screenplay, because it's like, if you haven't spoken to this guy in years, why are you still taking all of this so personally? Why are you still, kind of like trying to prove yourself and trying to like win your wife over from someone that you guys.
I heavily disagree with that, though.
Okay,
because like they were friends since 12, so 12 to we'll say 20, 21 maybe, because they're 18 in the juniors. Who put that fucking thumbs up? Who put it?
I literally don't know how that happens.
It was Tyler. It's Tyler.
Is it my hand placement? Look at my hand placement.
Put your thumbs down. Who's doing that shit?
StreamYard is agreeing with me. Let's make it clear right there.
But either way, no. I was talking. It was you agreeing with me. That's what was going on. I don't know. That's crazy. But I really disagree with that point because they're from 12 to 21. They're best friends and they're in this three-way friendship, or 12 to 20. We'll say, I don't know. So 8 years of friendship, and then 4 years after that is when, 3 years after that, maybe, is when they know, Josh O'Connor cheats on, Mike Feist catches Zendaya and Josh O'Connor definitely cheating with each other. In Cleveland, I believe is where it's mentioned. And so this guy like kind of has rent space and I understand it's been years and it's been a long time, maybe after 8 years, but like he's kind of always known that his wife cheated on him with this other man, and that'll keep, and he stayed with her, and that'll keep like, I think, cap space in your head. For years, I think. Like, and like he's never been able to beat his best friend, and his best friend dated the girl he's always had one at the time, because I think it's very clear that Mike Feist's character, what's his fucking name? Art. Thank you. Art is in love with Tashi, whereas Josh O'Connor is just playing. He just is out to get girls. Art's in love with Tashi. Tashi's not in love with him because Tashi only loves tennis, and she loves his tennis, like when he's playing the best, but she doesn't love him. And I think like Art has always been trying to prove himself, like to Tashi. He's very clearly in this relationship, like to prove himself with her. And like has always had this like in the back of his head that his best friend cheated on him cheated on him with her. Yeah, like, cheated on him with her. I disagree. I think that would weigh in your head for a long, long time.
I don't know. I get that, but at some points during this movie, the only thing I was thinking
what if I started cheating on you with Victoria? How would you feel, George? Would
cheating on you with Victoria?
I don't know.
Cheating on you.
I get what you're saying.
Would we be buddy in 3 years? Probably not.
Probably
is the thing.
No.
Yeah. See, that's just. I'm just saying.
Especially if you know such a long period of time, it's going to be there.
If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. I just disagree with that point.
There were just a lot of moments throughout this movie where I was like, these are grown ass men, and this is like middle school drama. Like one of them's married with a kid, multiple time Grand Slam champion. Why do you still give a fuck about this nobody who has made nothing of his career just because he had a former
Grand Slam
relationship?
Champion.
No, because if you were like still with that person, you would always think about it. If she potentially cheated on you with your best friend, it would always be there. And it's if they were like 40, I'd get it.
I think I'm looking at this too much from like a tennis lens, and I understand
why do people
let me finish. I understand the lifestyle that a 6-time Grand Slam champion will have lived, and there's absolutely no way that Art and Tashi are out there winning slams, traveling the world, living this hectic, chaotic Grand Slam champion life, while Josh O'Connor's character is an absolute nobody. There's no part of me that believes Art Donaldson would ever even think of this other man if they have not spoken for years. There's no part of me that even thinks that.
Tennis, though.
Why do people with 3.5 million followers reply to people with 8,000 followers? Stop putting that thumb down. Stop
Did you see that?
This is crazy. But I'm just saying, like, why do people with such big platforms reply to people with smaller platforms? It's because you can get in that fucking head no matter how big you are. And
I would say, I get what George is saying, but I would say, like, what's his name? Oh, he's not like tennis clearly isn't the focal point of his mind. That's the point. Like Zendaya,
see, but like that's where I disagree. You don't win 6 grand. I don't know if you guys understand how difficult it is to win 1 Grand Slam.
I do.
This man has won 6 of them on 3 different surfaces. They made that very clear immediately. There's no part of me that believes that a man who's this dominant in a sport across all surfaces, grass, clay, and hard, is giving an absolute fuck about Josh O'Connor's character because he slept with his wife a couple years ago and they were best buds.
That's the thing, though. I don't think he is thinking about him ever. It's when he sees him at the match that brings up all this back in his mind. I don't think he's thought about him in the past couple of years. I think this all
because he comes back into his life after not speaking to him for like, I don't know, is it 4 years? I think after not speaking to him at all. So
he's living that lavish life.
In my head, Art Donaldson is just a grown ass baby. Like, and I just,
everyone is, man.
I would be.
Yeah. And like my reality here, none of this movie is unbelievable, and I mean that in a derogatory fashion.
So many
genuinely, I cannot believe this would ever happen.
I know what you mean, but don't you think that the way we are introduced to Art as a character now, he's clearly not loving tennis to the point he wants it in his life, and then when he's at that point where he's doing this, what's the event? Is it challenges, whatever? And he sees Josh O'Connor's character. His mindset isn't on tennis 100%, and he sees this character is these feelings going to come up, the relationship's going to come up. It's not been that long. Do you know what I mean? If it was like 15, 20 years, I kind of get it, but it's only been like 4 years since he last spoke to him. And if he just comes straight up and suddenly out of his mind, the focal point is going to be on him, especially if he's facing him in a match, because it's this pressure. You know, he got one up on him with his current wife. He could never beat him in school. It's this kind of ongoing pressure that he's used throughout his career, just coming back, and like the childhood memories coming back to get him again because his friend always had one up. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of the way
trust me. I get it. And it reminds me, if you guys have ever seen The Novice, it's about this college rower. And basically the entire point of the movie is that like, this girl is just never satisfied. Like there's always something that she needs to one up in her career as a college rower. And Challengers kind of like makes me think of that. Like Art Donaldson is living this life of just constantly needing to one up everyone that's taking Tashi's attention away from him. It comes back to just my personal preference. The way this story was executed is just too corny for me. Whereas like a movie like The Novice plays out like a psychological thriller, which I much rather would have enjoyed watching Challengers as a psychological thriller as opposed to this like sexual corny mess that I got. Which, and I texted you guys this as well, absolutely stunned that people are calling this like the sexiest film of the year.
It is. Time before we get into sexy.
Stunned. That
it's sexy. It's sexy.
It's sexy for sure. It is not even one of the 2 sexiest films of the year. Hitman.
What? You're fucking insane, man. You're fucking insane.
What?
Real quick.
A couple of scenes of
Have you seen the sauna scene?
Have I seen what?
The sauna scene? The tension was crazy.
Yeah, congratulations. A dude had his ass out. That's not like
you don't need to include sex to be sexy.
I'm not looking for sex. I'm just saying we see Baron Harkonnen's ass in Dune 2. No one's calling that movie sexy. Like, don't tell me that just because an ass is showing the movie is sexy. Like,
that's not what I'm saying at all.
A couple of scenes of foreplay does not make this movie sexy. Like, it's just
not at all.
I was stunned how people are tweeting like, "Wow, I didn't know tennis was sexy." Like, one, tennis has always been sexy.
Noises,
2, this is not the movie to like make you think tennis is sexy.
I think it absolutely is. The noises, the sweat, the rhythm. I think this is.
I think you guys eat up too much. Like, oh my God, they're eating churros and bananas and hot dogs. Congratulations.
That's the whole fucking point. That's how
they do that in Horrible Bosses too. No one's calling this a sexual masterpiece.
That is so different. That's like a comedy. Like just
it's like the same thing.
Like, so wildly different.
Not even a churro. The stool pull. The stool pull, man.
Stop thumbs up me. I'm gonna punch you.
I'm the screen. You guys are just eating up like the smallest things.
Do you not think it was like sexy at all? Like,
that's because the performances give you that sexiness, but behind them, where you are invested in these acting performances, and they're so clearly like intertwined together, but they don't want to admit it. They've so clearly.
Tennis. It's like Oh, by the way, if everyone could just look at Raiders, they've just reviewed challenges. I want you to look at their first sentence, particularly George, because it really relates to what we're saying right now.
Also, real quick, 13 people in tennis have won. No, wait. I got my 14 people in golf have won 6 majors, whereas 17 in tennis have won 6 majors. So golf's better.
I don't know what that means.
Also, no one knows fucking Boris Becker. You could be a nobody and win 6 Grand Slams.
I call it. I know who that is. I don't know anything.
Stefan Edberg.
You're throwing out.
Do you know that one, Seth?
Boris Becker is like kind of
me saying no one knows who Kevin Durant is.
No one knows who Kevin Durant is. That dude's a loser. Do you know? All right, Seth or Tyler. Yeah. Do you know Bjorn Borg? Actually,
yes.
I know that one.
I think I agree with you here, but don't use those examples.
Mats Willander. I truly don't know.
Okay, I don't know that.
It's Willander
or Yvonne. I don't know Yvonne Lendl either. I don't know him.
I don't think I know that.
That's just men's. There's been more in women's, I should note, but that's just my men's count. But I'm just saying you can win 6 majors and still be like a real person. Like you're a real person who's pissed off that your wife cheats on you. And I think I will admit,
listen,
this is 100%.
I hear you loud and clear, and I'm happy that you guys are enjoying this movie that much. But everything you guys enjoy about it just sent a wave of secondhand embarrassment down my body. God. I flat out could not believe the overly corny execution. Again, I know it's intentional, not my thing. 2, the overly cringy middle school-esque love triangle that I'm watching. And 3, God, I have that techno score just.
Oh, it's so good. Shut the fuck up, man. Shut up about that shit.
I have it.
So good. I'm going to listen to it today.
It's
actually
baked in my head, and I can't.
Better than Dune's score.
Oh, you're so.
Better than Dune's score.
That's not even close.
On it.
That's like
Dune's 100 out of 100 for me. It's better than Dune's score. I will know. Please tell me if I'm wrong here, and this is just like being a dad brain now that I have a kid. But I think the saddest scene I've seen this year, or maybe the last couple years, is when Zendaya comes back from again cheating on Mike Weiss's character. And earlier in the movie, he asks her just to lay with him because he's so vulnerable at the time. She comes back and he's laying in her daughter's room. Yeah. That is without a doubt like the saddest scene. I almost cried. I almost cried during that scene. It was so sad. But that may just be because I have a kid, and like if Emma ever left and I like went and laid with Bailey, I'd probably cry.
That was a good scene. I like that scene a lot.
Yeah.
It was very good.
And right before it, you get the score of him or her and Josh O'Connor.
The amazing score, the best score in
the like wind and everything's blowing. And oh my God, man, this movie.
Want so good. Walk out of that theater every time that score popped up.
I
really do want your thoughts on one thing, because this is the part that bothered me the most, and I even tweeted about it. I deleted that tweet, but I did tweet about it. The single most blatantly in your face foreshadowing and predictable ending.
Awesome. No, so good.
How is that awesome?
So good.
How are you guys defending this? There are movies that are so predictable that you guys will give 1 star and 1.5 stars.
Because it's satisfying in this. Because it's satisfying in this.
Satisfying?
Because you know it's coming the whole time, and you're just waiting for it to finally hit.
The entire end sequence was fucking 15, 20 minutes long. And the entire time, I'm like, we all know what's about to happen. Just fucking get to it. Fucking Josh O'Connor's character is moving up to serve, looks at Art Donaldson, and just smiles a little bit. I wanted to punch myself in the dick. That is how annoyed I was at this scene. It just dragged on and on. And I'm in my head, I'm like, and then after say it is dragging, and you're getting the slow-mo. I get that. That's fine.
but then right after it, they hit you with the score and the ball cam, and it's the coolest fucking thing of the year.
Coolest
It's
thing
the
of the year.
coolest thing of the year. It is
corny.
so
It's
awesome,
corny.
man.
When they're
It's
in
so
college,
awesome.
when they're in college, and Art's like, dude, you don't have to tell me. Don't tell me if you slept with her. Just put the ball in the middle of the racket.
Shit is so cool.
Once that happened, I
because
knew
it's
exactly.
coming full circle.
I
It's,
knew
it's so different coming full circle in a movie that's actually good versus just being a jackass at the end of a Aladdin 2 or some shit.
I'm not like Doug texted us like, I think you're just looking for the movie to trick you. It's like, no, I'm not looking for the movie to trick me. I'm just looking for Luca Guadagnino to not think his audience is fucking stupid. That's how
it gives you the respect of making it an easy ending.
Luca Guadagnino. I'm going to start mispronouncing his name just to be disrespectful. Luca Guadagnino is
Guadagnino.
Guadagnino.
It's mid though. Real talk is mid.
Luca Guadagnino, deadass, thinks his audience is stupid. He is holding your hands. If any other movie was this predictable this foreshadowing that was so just shoved down your throat, you guys would be on this podcast giving the same rant that I am. The entire
It's so different. No. Let's take it back a week. Let's take it back 1 week to Zack Snyder's Piss Moon. When they're like the just stupid corniness of that princess still being alive.
It's not like I like that movie.
I'm just saying the stupid corniness of the princess being alive and the ending to Challengers is so it could be the same exact like corniness and dumb thing, but it's so wildly different when you've given a movie that is intense and gripping and has characters that you care about versus when you've given your shit farming in slow motion, man. It's I get it. You could say it's corny. It is so wildly different when you've given 99% of a movie where you're locked in and you're finally waiting for the big moment of, yeah, I fucked your wife, dude. Because and you get it. Like, that's insane.
Hold on. You just spent this entire episode telling me that Art Donaldson has been living it with in the back of his mind that this other guy is dogging his wife.
No. The one time could have possibly done it because he doesn't know. Now he knows. Now he knows, and I think that's why it's even more important. It was weighing on him for so long because it could have happened.
I get it's like a fun ending, like, hey, I fucked your wife, and now I'm flat out telling you I fucked your wife. But I don't understand how everyone was like reacting in my theater like, oh my God, that's crazy. I'm like, we knew it was coming. It was shoved down your throat and up your ass, and it met in the middle of your stomach. Like, we knew it was coming. And it just removes.
I like that.
Thanks. It removes. It's like there was no sense of urgency. There was no tension, and it made for me in my humble opinion.
There's so much tension.
In my humble opinion, it made that entire final sequence so pointless because it went on. It dragged on for 20 fucking minutes. And the entire time I'm sitting there, I'm like, dude, Luca Guadagnino, we know where you're taking this movie. Just get there. Like, we know what's about to happen. You fucking shot us in the face with this an hour ago. We know exactly what you're about to do. Just get there. And I don't think any of this movie was like tension filled enough or developed enough for me to like genuinely react when Josh O'Connor was like, I fucked your wife.
You're nuts.
Well, here's my take. You two have been shooting squirt guns at each other for the past 35 minutes now.
Yeah, me and Tyler too.
My take on that is it's all about the sexual tension and rhythm of the movie. You know the whole time that scene's going to happen. You know that shot's going to happen. You know he's going to put the ball in the neck of the racket the entire time. But it's about the buildup. You know it's going to come, and it would be so unsatisfying if it didn't come because you're building to it the whole time. Tension's building, literally sexual tension the whole time. Then finally you get that release when he finally does it. And then at that point, they both understand what we've known the whole time. Finally, both characters know, and they both just enter this rhythm of tennis.
Here's my thing. How is it such like a release? How?
Because that's when Art finally starts playing his best tennis. And Josh O'Connor Patrick knew that was the only thing.
But I get that. But and my prop, and again, this just goes back to my problem. If you had stopped this movie a half hour before the ending, I could have written the ending exactly how it panned out. I could have told you everything down to the last minute detail of Art.
Is that always a negative? Tennis. Is predictability always a negative? Do you know what I mean? When it works in comparison with the rest of the film, I don't think
when it removes this much tension and this much life from a film, yes, it's absolutely.
I think it added to it. I think it added.
And I'm not saying you're wrong for thinking that. Again, this is just me and my personal experience with this film and how it was executed. It was just so blatant and so in your face, and I could not avoid it. I couldn't let it go. And when, again, as I've been saying, when that final sequence was unraveling, I could not wait for the credits to start to roll, because I knew how that movie was ending. I knew exactly what was going to happen.
Well, speaking about the ending, one thing I thought was kind of funny is, for people who have never watched tennis before, I feel like the scoring would throw people off, because, match point, final game on the line. First, knowing that if you hit the net on your first serve, you get another chance, you don't lose your point. I feel like when people are watching, if they don't know that, they'd be like, "Oh shit, point lost." He hit the net on his first serve, he didn't get another chance. Then another one is advantage in tennis, and how it's not, basically, I think there's a lot of moments in the final match where it's if you didn't know anything about tennis scoring, I hadn't watched before, you'd be like, "Oh, game over, this person won," or "this person won." But with advantages and with faults and being able to get a second opportunity to serve, I just thought it was kind of funny. I'm like, if you know nothing about tennis, you might be like, "Oh shit, he just lost the match right there by hitting that ball straight at his face, trying to hit him. He just gave up right there."
That I will say was funny, because that actually, funny story. This had to be over a decade ago now. Pete Sampras, Roger Federer played doubles against Andre Agassi and Rafael Nadal. And Pete Sampras and Andre Agassi always butted heads. They were their biggest rivals without a doubt throughout their career. And it wasn't a Roger Rafa rivalry where they were friends off court. They really didn't like each other. So they were chirping each other all match. And then at one point during the match, Pete Sampras did that. He just launched a serve straight at Andre Agassi's face. So that part of the movie made me chuckle, because that I've seen that happen before, and it is very funny.
That's crazy. But so for me, obviously the tennis, you're a tennis expert, so watching people play tennis who aren't tennis experts, you're going to notice all the glaring differences. Whereas for someone like me, I think 90% of tennis looked solid. It was nothing that took me out of the movie. But the final point, I think, was super, even as me who's only watched a couple tennis matches, that was definitely super over the top corny. When they're volleying back and forth that close to each other, that's just that's just something that would never happen.
That's Wii tennis.
Right. And that wouldn't, it was
Luca
pickleball. It became pickleball
tennis, and thought, yeah, that's how it should be done.
And then the final spike, obviously very good climax of the movie thematically, but him leaning over the net that far and being in the air, that it was just something that would never, that just didn't happen. That just looks so fake and unrealistic in terms of just the tennis playing itself. But and yeah, I think Cam might have foreshadowed who wins the point. So yeah, obviously Art spikes that ball. You see it land in the court. I get they didn't zoom in on it, I guess. But yeah, it's very clear Art won the match. And Zendaya, Josh O'Connor, Mike Weiss, Art Patrick, and Tashi all achieved what they wanted. They wanted great tennis, and it kind of leaves it open ended where it goes from here. And we can kind of talk about where we think it goes from there, between them three, what happens after, because obviously Art wins the match. So in theory, he gets his confidence back finally. Patrick was able to unlock that in him. Zendaya, Tashi was able to unlock that in him through, shitty circumstances, by cheating, by revealing that cheating to him. I mean, all the people in this movie at different points in time are just genuinely awful people. Tashi has a kid, has a whole family, and just throws that all out the window just for the sake of winning a tennis match. Art is kind of just a very manipulated guy throughout the movie. He's plays second fiddle to Tashi and whatever she wants. And then Patrick, obviously, by engaging in the cheating, it takes two people to cheat. He very much knew what he was doing to the family that Art has built. And just for the sake of unlocking that final tennis potential in them, they decided to commit the ultimate sin in a relationship. So they're all bad people. And honestly, what's weird for me, and I want to know what you guys think between Art and Patrick, is my second watch especially, I felt so much more empathy for Patrick, because I feel if you had a graph, I'd say 80% of people are probably if you had to pick a team, Team Art, I'd say 80%, 20%
Really?
of Patrick. It might even be more Art, I'd say. Because I mean, he doesn't do anything necessarily wrong, really. He just gets in a relationship.
Snakes his boy at the start.
He what?
He snakes his boy at the start.
Yeah, but that's different than full on cheating. All he says is he doesn't think he loves, which low key probably wasn't the biggest lie in the world. It didn't really seem like Patrick cared about her that much. True. So he kind of was just more like being like a friend to Tashi, because he kind of was like Art didn't really give a fuck. He was kind of just like to Patrick, he won the match. He's like, so I won the prize of Tashi. And he says when they have that fight in their Stanford dorm room, like, he's like, I'm not going to play. We're not peers. Like, he's like, I'm like the tennis star. I'm not going to be catering to your needs and whims. And he's like, you kind of need someone like Art who will cater to whatever you want. But I felt a lot more empathetic to Patrick in the second watch, especially when you see them younger, when they're doubles partners. Like all Patrick literally wanted to do was just hang with the boys and have a fun life playing tennis. He didn't care about like the relationship. Like, obviously he was very attracted to Tashi and got into that, but it seemed like from the beginning, like all he wanted was just to be pals with Art, play tennis together as doubles, maybe even go on to be pros in doubles. And he was just kind of like a more innocent boy. Like, yeah, he came from like a rich background and like had a level of elitism to him, but it seemed like the whole throuple was what initially really started to get him to be a lot more arrogant, cocky, because he was just like a silly, goofy little dude doing the doubles. He was just like, yeah, I love playing tennis with my pal. He's like, I don't give a fuck about winning. Like, what? I'm going to be some ATP rank like 277 after this. Like, I don't really care about that. And ultimately, like, Tashi is what turns him into like this maniacal beast, who then as we see kind of in the beginning of the movie, I guess non-linearly, literally, yeah, she's a homewrecker. We see like, you know, he probably gets addicted to drugs. He clearly never achieves his full potential in tennis, even though we all know he's the better one. And if we see Art go on to win 6 Grand Slams, and we know Patrick has so much more potential. Like, if Patrick would have ran the course with Tashi, he probably would have been, 12-time Grand Slam at this point, something like that. Like, he would have been unlocked so much more potential. So I just feel like his innocence was taken a lot by Tashi in this movie, and it really turned his character into ultimately being homeless and scrounging for scraps and begging for Dunkin' Donuts bagels for the whole movie. So I was a lot more sympathetic with Patrick at the second watch I watched. But what do you guys think happens after the movie ends? So obviously the point hits.
Well, before we get there, can you explain one thing for me? Why did Tashi scream out, "Come on," when they started hugging at the end of that? Like, what from her POV, what is she seeing? Like, is she seeing her two lovers being boys, and like the fact that she edge, another guy she was married is going to get swept under the rug because they're friends now?
I think it's just a callback to initially when we see them first watch her play tennis, and she screams out, "Come on," and she mentions at that point, you're not really playing tennis. It's more a relationship with the other person, and it's tennis at its highest level. And unlocking that is almost like a sexual release. And I feel like at the end of it, she sees finally Art for years has been a mediocre tennis player, losing people he shouldn't. And she finally got to see him unlock that potential and realize, kind of like we mentioned, what happens after the movie. Like, does he now get that confidence and go on to the US Open? Is Patrick now, they realize they're boys and they should never let this come between them. And do they just kind of all work together as a team like they were initially? And Patrick gets back on track and joins the tour, and Tashi can be his coach like he asked her to be. And they kind of go together as this throuple forward, because clearly, like, family, whatever, but the tennis is first for all of them, and especially Tashi. So I think it was just a release of her finally realizing she finally has seen that level of tennis she was waiting to see since she was in juniors. And she finally got that out of Art and Patrick, that it all released. They finally got Art unlocked. He's finally going to be back on track. Patrick, like, they're coming to an understanding. And I think all three of them kind of go together. I think it's like a happy ending for the three of them in terms of what they wanted with their lives. But Seth, what do you think?
I don't know. I didn't really see it as that, to be honest. I didn't really see it as like a positive for her. I see it as a positive for them. I see it as kind of a relief for them that they're kind of back in twine, and she's kind of looking for that competitive edge, and she doesn't really want them relating again, but because she clearly has both love and hatred particularly for Patrick, even though she kind of is still with him at the same time, whatever. And we see, I don't know, I felt it more of a kind of release from their point of view, and her more frustration that they're kind of back together and not having this competitive edge between them, and not, because I don't think that she'd want to see Art kind of be like that with him going into another competition. I thought it was like a more of a essential release for the both of them rather than for her. And I thought that the scream was more out of frustration. But again, that's just my interpretation. I might be wrong about that.
That's what I thought the first time too. That's interesting, because like I'm kind of opposite on you. But first time I watched it, I thought she was like kind of frustrated. And second time I kind of more was like, I think she's more happy and excited. And I think, once this movie ends, I think Patrick gets back on tour and gets his life on track, and Tashi's his coach. I think Art gets his confidence back and keeps going. I think the three of them go symbiotically into the future, which might be wishful thinking, but I think they both care about tennis over anything. So but it is very open-ended ending. Like you said, there's no right or wrong answer. And Luca's not going to give you those answers for what he thinks happens, or the Justin Koretsky's, I think is who's the writer. I'm sure they won't give it to you. I mean, we can think of what happens based on, past lives, how that ended. Maybe it's similar because it's his life, but yeah, I don't know. I thought it was more a happy ending where Zendaya, all she cares about is elite level tennis, and she finally got that. So I thought she was happy that Art finally could get over that hurdle, and Patrick, they seem to get to an understanding to where I think they could move forward together. But yeah, George, what was your kind of thoughts there?
I don't know. I actually like that you just explained that, because it does help me. Like, at first I was just like caught off. I was like, why would she in this very moment like shout, "Come on"? And then from the way you just explained it, my immediate thought was like Whiplash for some reason, where like the Whiplash ends, and
good comparison.
Both of our leads pretty much got what they wanted. Didn't matter how they got there; they got what they wanted. And Fletcher trained up an all-time great drummer, and Andrew Neiman became an all-time great drummer. They got what they wanted. It didn't matter how they got there. So the way you explained it kind of reminded me of that, where like Tashi is in that position. Like, she got what she wanted. Didn't matter how she got there. She got Art back on his game. She's watching tennis in what I assume to be its highest form in this movie. And maybe that "come on," like you said, was just like, it was just a release, the way like tennis is being compared to, I guess, like having sex in this movie, or like sexual tension in this movie. And like that was her way of like releasing her emotions by yelling "come on." I don't know. Still felt very off brand, given how she got to that position. Like, she is cheating on her husband actively. And the way I saw it immediately was like, wow, is she like happy that they're boys again because like it maybe saved her family? Maybe they're not, they're going to sweep the fact that she's cheating on her husband just under the rug. So I don't know. It just felt very off brand. But the way you explain it, it makes more sense. But yeah, just a weird way to end the movie, I thought.
I think the ending was weird in terms of like, it was definitely like, the whole movie is very melodramatic, but I thought the end was like the corniest of the bunch, where it's like, especially just because like the point, like him like that far over the net for like a spike and then like falling in his arms and hugging, like it's very much like it's a silly ending and it's a silly movie, but I think that's part of the charm that works so well for it. And I get that it definitely doesn't work for George. And this isn't the review where like, I know Cam and George were going head to head for like 20 minutes. They're fighting. This is 100% a movie. And I don't know, Seth, you feel the same, where you can watch it and be like, I can totally see why some people will be off put by it and not like dig it. Cause it is very melodramatic. It's very corny. And it's a silly, like you said, it's a love triangle. Like, at some point, get over yourselves. You have a family, you have a daughter. Like, what are we doing here? Like, put the past in the past. Like, you have literally a family to go after at this point and it won't work towards. So I can see why people wouldn't love it, but and especially the techno score, like I love it and I love how it works in the movie. But I'm not going to lie and say like when it starts thumping, like I can totally see why some people would be like, "Oh, this is very off-putting." Because
I don't really like the film. She thought it was I don't really like the film, but she thought it was a bit off-putting at times because
the score.
She's silly like George is. Yeah, the score.
I mean, people criticize Christopher Nolan's for his scores like drowning out the dialogue. So offensive in this movie. When that techno score started running, I had no idea what these characters were saying.
I saw a couple comments about that thing. They were like, did anyone like feel like it was hard to understand what they were saying? Yeah. I didn't have that issue, but that's a common thing too. So yeah, you're gonna
it's a film you're gonna like, but it's like May December, melodramatic, whatever. Score is very in your face. You're gonna like it or you're not. But
anything else anyone wants to say about Challengers? I feel like we've
been not my vibe. Just not my vibe.
Second best film of the year for me. Although that's second best film of the year.
Same for me. Yep. Same for me.
Where does it land for you, George? I'm actually intrigued.
What's directly above and below it?
Roadhouse. Roadhouse is probably above it.
Directly above it is Ricky Stenicki, and directly below it is the Beekeeper. And then directly above Ricky Stenicki, just to make your lives even worse, is Argyle.
I haven't seen Argyle. I can't comment.
So it's sitting at 16 for me out of 32.
I'll be interested to see if when you rewatch it, if it changes, because I think when you go into your second watch, you'll know the tennis isn't going to be great. You'll know what you're going to be expecting. So I wonder if knowing everything and how it unfolds,
again,
you appreciate it more.
I've come to terms with tennis looking shitty in movies. I know that. It bothers me, but that's not the reason why this movie is rated so low. The movie's rated so low because I just do not love this like corny style of execution, even if it is intentional. It's just not for me.
Good tennis films. I actually can't think of any.
Tennis has never been good in film. Like even in King Richard, I think it looks stupid.
Oh, I actually quite like King Richard.
In Wimbledon, it looks extra stupid. In Battle of the Sexes, it looks as stupid as can be. The Shia LaBeouf movie, Borg vs. McEnroe, that's probably the best of the bunch. Still looks stupid. So tennis just will never look cool in movies.
Yeah, I can't remember. I mean, I really liked King Richard. I don't remember a ton of actual tennis happening in it. The actual movie, like not nearly as much as Challengers, I think, of actual matches.
There was a little bit of
training, but yeah. Also, just like fun fact that people pointed out is like every actress who has played MJ has been in a tennis movie. So Emma Stone was in Battle of the Sexes, and Kirsten Dunst. I can't remember. Do you know what movie that was off the top of your head, George?
That
was Wimbledon. Okay, so they've all been in a tennis movie at this point. So that's fun. So maybe, Haley Steinfeld's Gwen Stacy. Do we have an MJ in Spider-Verse movies? I don't think so.
Yeah,
we do.
Yeah, Peter B. Parker's wife is MJ.
Oh yeah,
is it a notable actress who voices her?
No, I don't.
Got to get her in a tennis movie now. We got to complete the quadrilogy. But we'll leave it there for Challengers. So obviously George the lowest. George, sorry, was it 2 out of 5? Two. And then Cam gave it a 5. I gave it a 4.5, and Seth gave it a 4.5 as well. But now we'll dive into Luca Guadagnino's filmography as a whole. Some films will go through quicker than others, but we're going to go through his filmography. He has 8 feature films that he's released at this point, has several more in production. But we'll start with The Protagonists, which was his debut from 1999. It's a cinedoc, so it's like half documentary, half recreation movie. It's a crime thriller. An Italian movie crew goes to London to make a documentary about a murder case that took place a few years before. Starring Tilda Swinton is kind of the main notable actress in this. And I thought it was really funny watching it because like half of it is like documentary style, where it's like, someone walking through the streets of London talking to the camera as if it was documentary. And I was just picturing in my head like a substitute teacher walking in and be like, "Oh, we're gonna watch this documentary." Just fuck off and watch this whole time. And like if I got to do that and Tilda Swinton was like guiding me through a documentary like this, that'd be so fun to watch in school. But obviously there's a lot of scenes in this that they wouldn't want to show in grade schools, but yeah, what were you guys' thoughts on The Protagonists? If you want to watch, if you're listening to this, it's on YouTube, I believe.
It's only like 800 logs or something, I think. I saw it.
It doesn't have a lot.
That's why I was wondering, because I watched it on YouTube and then George watched it a couple days later and you couldn't find the YouTube link, which I finally found.
I thought I was losing my mind. I was like, where did Tyler, is Tyler lying to me? Did he?
I was wondering, like, because there's so few logs, like if like we just added like 2 views this week really quickly, so they were like quickly like, oh shit, get this like copyrighted stuff off YouTube. Like we just got the first 2 views in the past 10 years of the video. So he brought it to their attention. But Seth, what are your thoughts on The Protagonists?
I didn't hate it. I think like it is kind of this weird mess most of the time, but I actually was quite intrigued for the first like 30 minutes. And it's obvious what they're going for, like Tilda Swinton and Luke particularly. A little bit of a misfire at points and something that I didn't really get, but I get what they're going for, kind of. I just, after like 30 minutes of the initial intrigue, the novelty of it kind of wore off. I like the strange, unfiltered nature, but I just got kind of bored eventually, to be honest, after like 30 minutes. Maybe would have worked better a little bit shorter. Weird film. Didn't hate it, so I give it a 2.5, but just not really much to say. I didn't have that much.
And we don't have to get too deep into some of these that we want to much say on, but one of the funniest moments I've seen in like a movie maybe all year was Tilda Swinton covered in blood when they're like, and then she just stares at the camera. She's like, "Look at this. More people are looking at me right now covered in blood with cameras on me than looked at him when he was dead in his car." And I was like, well, I mean, based on the way you're recreating it, it was like late at night and he was in a car, whereas you're Tilda Swinton covered in blood, like fully blood-soaked shirt, walking through London with a full camera crew. Like,
I'd probably looking.
That was so funny when she just deadpan looking at the camera, like, look how many people are looking at me right now. And it didn't even bother to look at this deadpan in his car. I was like,
Tilda innocent
thing ever.
Tilda
No, it was great. It was funny. George, what are your thoughts on The Protagonist?
Yeah, Tilda big innocent. I actually really liked her in this movie. I've come to terms with the fact that, like, even though as we go on the filmography, you'll see I don't love Luca's filmography as much as you guys, but Tilda's always innocent, and I really do think she's been the best part of like every movie she's been in. Every Luca movie she's been in. I obviously haven't seen every single Tilda Swinton movie, but yeah, I was very caught off guard at first. I obviously had no idea what this movie was, never seen the trailer, literally had no idea what it was until I saw it. Tyler, you and Cam log it. So I like went in blind, and at first it kind of caught me off guard. This like half film, half documentary style filmmaking. It was like I didn't know, like, I don't want to say I didn't know what to believe, because like obviously you don't believe anything, but like I just didn't know how to feel about it. And then once I confirmed with you what was kind of going on, I kind of like settled in a little more, and I was like, okay, like this is cool. Like aesthetically, it's like a very interesting way to tell like a particular story. But like Seth said, everything just kind of wore off within like 20 minutes. I stopped caring about pretty much everything, from this murder case to Tilden and Fabricia's character. I stopped like having intrigue. It wore off very quickly. I found the movie to just be very, like, I don't want to say redundant, but it kind of felt like every scene was kind of just like rinse and repeating itself over and over again. And I just think that made for like less than ideal storytelling. But again, I think in its execution, it's cool. And I think like this, like half film, half documentary style filmmaking could be cool. I just don't think it worked in this movie at all for me.
Yeah, for sure. And we won't give star ratings on these because we're gonna do a ranking at the end. If when you're talking about a film, it slips out, like not the end of the world. But I didn't even remember if you did say it, but if you didn't, yeah, totally fine. But we'll just save for the ranking at the end. Next film, Melissa P. 2005, a drama. An adolescent girl living with her mother and her grandmother will have her first sexual experiences in a heavy and excessive way. Yeah, so this one's, I mean, again, I literally just said we're not going to spoil our ratings, but I think it's our consensus, like all of our lowest by far. There's nothing I really have to say about this. I think it's just like over the top, overly sexualized, and like just like, which isn't like a negative thing outright for a film, but like this film, it just doesn't work for whatsoever.
Totally,
very gross.
It's
very all over the place. And the way it starts and opens, like from the immediate opening, it seems like almost like a TV film from the way like it's shot. Like it's shot really very corny, very ugly.
While I was watching this movie, I read a Letterboxd review that said like this movie just feels like a 2-hour commercial. And I could not get that out of my head for the
rest. The way it's edited as well. It's really
it literally feels like a fucking like Neutrogena commercial. Like the way it's like, I don't know.
Even the movie poster literally looks like a Neutrogena.
What the hell is Neutrogena?
Like a skincare face.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
Yeah, this is I've told you this off cam. I don't love most of Luca's filmography, but again, I don't think his movies are like offensively bad. I just think they're just not for me and his style of filmmaking. Melissa P is offensively bad. This is the one in his filmography where I genuinely, like, if it wasn't for the podcast, I probably would have turned this movie off within like 20 minutes. This is where I like really kind of come to terms with the fact that Luca Guadagnino is tricking everyone into believing that like he understands the romantic human experience. He doesn't at all.
This is a bad one, to example. This is like,
yeah, this is like the movie where I was genuinely like, okay, this dude really has like no idea what like human beings go through in their life, in their relationships, in their sex life. Like, this is not how human beings interact with one another. This is not how human beings talk to one another. This is not how human beings engage with one another sexually. It is just, it's so uncomfortable to watch. It was a really like, God, it felt like someone was like holding my eyes open and just shoving needles in them while watching this film. It was, like we said, it was shot really poorly, to the point of being like, I guess I'll call it a soap opera. Again, I feel like I've been using that word a lot on this episode. But it was like very soap opera-esque, and soap operas are just like inherently stupid. And this was even worse than that. But yeah, this was like the only Guadagnino film I like genuinely thought was like offensively bad.
Yeah, and we don't have to touch on it too much. It's basically a woman experiences her first sexual experiences, and then it just devolves very quickly into the most extreme you could picture in your mind of where that would go. But moving on then to 2009, we get to I Am Love, which also stars Tilda Swinton. Once again, they reconnect. So Emma left Russia to live with her husband in Italy. Now a member of a powerful industrial family, she is the respected mother of 3, but feels unfulfilled. One day, Antonio, a talented chef and her son's friend, makes her senses kindle. So shout out Tilda Swinton just being like the GOAT, because she learned both German and Italian for this. She learned 2 new languages for this, which, as we end up seeing, like, in Suspiria and such, like, she learning that German worked out well for her and Luca together, because they come back to it. So she didn't just learn it for one movie. But this movie had a lot of Succession elements to me, where it's like, it's basically like this powerful industrial business company empire, and then the very beginning of the movie is like the father kind of, or like the patriarch of the empire, is kind of saying who's gonna take his spot now, and it doesn't ultimately go to the eldest son as he was expecting. It goes to a different son, and then also Tilda Swinton's son herself, which would be the grandson of the initial guy. So a big shakeup in the family, and ultimately you have like this. Her son was like a chef, was in a competition with his other chef, who ultimately comes back into the life, Antonio, and it kind of just starts this affair, romance, because Tilda Swinton's married, just like this affair that starts to kind of seep into the family and start tearing it apart. This very connected, very well family, very much like Succession, if you watched it, where it's like this family like doesn't really like each other, but like they have to put on such a front of being like such a tight family. They're in this business together. They're all multi-millionaires. So like they kind of low-key all hate each other, but like act like they seem like a perfect nuclear family on the outside. But actually I was surprised. I like this one more than I was expecting. I think Tilda Swinton's obviously great, and it's just like, and I love Succession, so it makes sense why I would like this. But I think this affair kind of just unraveling this family, and how just this one act by the mother starts to be like the ultimate domino that makes the whole cookie crumble. Because like I mentioned, it seemed like everything is on thin ice already, and this kind of just sends everything over the edge. Another movie where there's a pool involved, that something goes wrong. Obviously, Melissa P kind of starts out on it with a pool being the ultimate sexual experience, and then a bigger splash, which we'll talk about, also has a pool in it. So Luca Guadagnino, big pool guy, for having pools be a central thing for where stuff starts to go awry. But so you both saw this, I believe. So Seth, what were your thoughts on I Am Love?
Yeah, I thought it was all right. Another film where, once again, Tilda, the best actress of all time by far. But I think this is fine. I think that it opened up really, really nicely. I think the most striking thing throughout the whole film was kind of the setting and the majestic nature of the cinematography. Like, visually, is probably one of the best Luca films, I would argue. And I think that it kind of showcases again Luca going into like forbidden love and the implications that can have on, like Tyler said, for, the family and stuff like that. I think that my main issue with this was kind of similar to my issue with the Protagonist, where after the first sort of 45-ish minutes, my interest just kind of went downhill. And there's nothing I'm going to pinpoint for that. I think it kind of just emotionally felt quite cold. And nothing was really hitting as intended, clearly. I think visually it was stunning. I think, again, it's an interesting take on forbidden love, which we've seen prior with Luca, which, well, we're going to see post this in his career. But I just think it felt quite cold emotionally. And I wasn't like, by the final sort of half an hour, especially because I think it's like a 2-hour film, I just wasn't as interested, to be honest. Similar to like the Protagonist. So I won't say my rating, but that's kind of how I felt.
It's kind of how I feel about like most Luca films. The more I like went through his filmography, it's like I feel like his ideas really are there. Because like even I Am Love, like I was very intrigued for the first like 20-25 half hour. And then it kind of feels like he like just loses control of his narrative, and he just doesn't understand like where he kind of like takes these characters and wraps up their story. I actually didn't like find this one terrible. I think this is just like one of his more meh movies. Tilda Swinton really is just such a standout. I want to prioritize like the remainder of her filmography, because there are a lot of films that I haven't seen in her filmography. And she really is just phenomenal. Even Seth, I think you posted a TikTok video saying like she's one of the actors or actresses that just like no matter what she's in, she's the best part.
I love it. Yeah. She's like Hoffman kind of thing.
Yeah, it really is true. Like she just, once you see her in a film, you're like, okay, like at the very least, I'm gonna watch a master at their craft.
Yeah.
But yeah, this kind of falls for me in the same realm of like the Protagonists, where just like I found myself just not really caring about a lot. I didn't really care about Tilda Swinton. I didn't care about Flavio Parenti's character. I didn't care about Eduardo Gabriellini's character. A lot of just, I want to say, it went over my head. I just don't think I care for these romances that Luca Guadagnino is trying to translate to us too well. And a lot of that comes back to the fact that a lot of them are just like unbelievable, derogatory again. But yeah, I Am Love is not one of the Guadagnino films I like too much.
Yeah, there's one scene in it that challenges my own, maybe preconceived biases. But when the rival baker first shows up at the house, the vibe was so off. And he gave her gave a mysterious present. He's like, "Why are you giving me a present? I just beat you in a baking competition." I low key for sure thought like a bomb was about to go off. Like I was like, because it was so unsettling and it was so long. It was like in the middle of the rain, and he walks away slowly from the house. It's focusing on him. I thought we were about to see the house just explode from a bomb.
You know what that feels like? That feels like the end scene of Challengers, where he puts the ball in the racket, and he's basically just like, "Yeah, I fucked your wife." This is this guy basically being like, "Yeah, dude, you can't hang. Here's some actual good shit." That's what it felt like.
But now we'll move on to a bigger splash, which I really liked more than you two did. But 2015, a bigger splash. A famous rock star's vacation in Italy with her boyfriend is disrupted by the unexpected visit of an old friend and his daughter. We've been gassing up Tilda Swinton this whole episode, and rightfully so. But now I'll pump some air in the tires of Ralph Fiennes, because he is so good. Every film he's in, he is so incredible. And I think in this, he's so. He play in this film. He seems like he has it put together, but you just know something's off, and then he's ready to. He just has such ulterior motives that are so terrifying in this movie. And I think a lot of this to me felt like the movie Deep Water, the Ana de Armas, Ben Affleck, Jacob Elordi film, where there's kind of that affair that ends up ruining a relationship, and then things go awry as a result. But what I think added to this, which I think in Suspiria he doesn't do as successfully, is the political undertones, because pretty much this whole movie is a luxurious Italy villa, a nice pool mansion where they're all just vacationing. Dakota Johnson's the daughter. They're all just having a grand old time, lapping it up in luxury. Tilda Swinton's a rock star who got vocal surgery, so she's just sitting there not talking the whole time, resting her vocal cords. Obviously very privileged stuff. These guys are rich. She has the ability to just literally just not talk for months and just sit
and she
on a
still smashes it.
Oh, she still kills it for sure. Still kills it. But you just have all these people that are just lapping it up in luxury. And then, we're going to be spoiling movies because we're kind of just going into, talking. So I guess we'll spoil a bigger splash because I want to talk about it a bit. And I don't want to go. You haven't seen it? Well, I don't think he's going to watch it anyways. He doesn't like Luke.
You don't think? Okay, interesting.
I loved it. But so ultimately, basically, okay, fine. I'll put the spoilers banner up. So if you want to see a bigger splash, skip forward a bit. So when we start talking about Call Me by Your Name.
I'll mute you guys. Give me a thumbs up just in case I do watch it.
Okay. I wish I could do the thumbs up emoji thing that George seems to be able to do. I can't do it. So ultimately there's another pool scene, which we kind of foreshadowed. And ultimately Ralph Fiennes' character gets basically drowned by the other guy. They're in a pool together. They're drunk. And it's similar to, Challengers, similar to all these other films, a very central theme in Lucasfilms where there's an affair that happens, and very similar to Deep Water, like I was talking about, he kills him in a pool and he ends up drowning, and they get rid of the body. And what I think of the political undertones that work so well for me is that, so he gets murdered and they call the cops and be like, this guy's dead. And then they're like, I promise I was sleeping the whole time. I didn't know what happened. And they were kind of shocked when the cops didn't care and let him get off. And basically the police are like, dude, we're under a refugee crisis right now. We have dead bodies of refugees from North Africa washing up on our shore every single day. We have so many bigger problems to deal with, and this rich villa of this murder. Like you said, you were sleeping and he died drowning. He was drinking. Yeah, he there's drunk and drugs in his system when he died. Just seems like a rich dude who overdosed and died in a pool. Fine, we'll write it off. You guys are free. Nothing, no ulterior motives here. We have way bigger issues going on in this city right now than this rich couple feuding. And I just thought that really worked for me, because the whole movie is just a good vibes movie. You're on a nice villa, Italy, nice setting, rock star lifestyle. So it's just a warm, fuzzy summer movie. But I just really like that ending, how he's basically, the cops are like, dude, we don't give a fuck about this. We have so much bigger issues at play than this stupid little romance between you three that one person ended up dying. Move on with it. And I thought it was really interesting, because normally you see when the cops pull her over and then they're basically like, oh, can you sign her autograph because you're a rock star? I don't know. It really works for me. I think that's what put it over the edge. But Seth, what were your thoughts on a bigger splash?
Yeah, I thought it was fun. That's what I love by any means. I think definitely a lot of political undertones really work. Ralph Fiennes, maybe his best performance, or at least one of. Really, really great. Really great. So they all were. I think it was complex. I think, it addressed like you said, privilege in length and desire. Very cautionary tale. Just it was similar to what you said about the scene in, what's it called? The one before it. I Am Love?
I Am Love, yeah.
Yeah. The one where it's the whole film had this ever-growing sense of tragedy that eventually hit. And I think the only issue I had with this film is that a lot of the scenes in the first kind of hour for me felt inconsequential to the rest of the story and just felt meandering and didn't really offer anything that I needed. I mean, I think this is a remake of a 60s thriller, and I haven't seen that, so I have no idea. But yeah, it was a really interesting concept. I think I'd like to watch it again because I do think I'd sort of think I'd like. I found some of the first half to be quite vapid, and then as soon as it got to probably 10, 15 minutes before the murder, the drowning sequence, probably like 45 minutes of film, that's where I was like, okay, this is pretty good. But I found a lot of it to be just kind of rapid, very on the nose look at privilege. But you know, it's something I'm probably going to give another try because maybe I wasn't in the right headspace. Definitely not the worst on this list by far, anyway.
All right. Well, George, you can come back. Hi, George. Someone tighten. So now we're getting into what I'll call like the meat of Luca Guadagnino's filmography, where this is where he breaks out into the mainstream, where everyone knows him. I'd say for people more in the film sphere, I think A Bigger Splash is pretty decently big amongst them, but this is where, like, you know, everyone starts to know Luca's name. It's from Call Me By Your Name, 2017, Timothée Chalamet, Armie Hammer. In 1980s Italy, romance blossoms between a 17-year-old student and the older man hired as a father's research assistant. Seth, I think your rating was removed, right? So you haven't seen this in a while. So what's your memory of your thoughts on this film?
So I think I last watched this like 3 years ago, honestly. So I know that I like it. I just didn't get a chance to rewatch it. This is that a Stanley Cup, Tyler? That's funny. It is.
Yep. We have like 7 in this house. They're all Riley's.
And I love that shit. I think that from memory anyway, this is kind of, you know, a look at naivety, youthful idealism from Timothée Chalamet's perspective. A film of desire. I love the landscapes in this. I love the setting and the scenery. Amazing. Love it. And as a coming of age film, I think it really works. I don't think it's anything from memory, anything revolutionary within its storytelling, but I think it does well. It does really, really well, especially with the two kind of primary performances. I think they're great. And it is emotionally impactful. So I've just got like a little heart on this, you know, on Letterboxd. I just do that when I remember I like a film, but I don't exactly know. If I had to guess, I'd probably say it's like a 4-star for me. So I'll just start now because it's not spoiling anything. But it's not really one that I can rank just because it's been probably about 3 years since I last watched it. I do remember really liking it though. So I'll say.
George, your thoughts on Call Me By Your Name?
It's same boat as Seth. Actually, I removed my rating too, just because it's been a while since I've seen it, and over the last couple of weeks, I've gone through Letterboxd and removed like a lot of ratings of just movies I haven't seen in like probably like 3+ years. But I still know that I remember that I liked this film. I love the romance. I love the way it plays out. I love that it kind of ends in tragedy, or not tragedy, but it's like it's a devastatingly sad ending. You know, usually in romance, you know, the guy gets the girl, the guy gets the guy, or whatever, and you're usually left happy. But this movie ends with fucking Visions of Gideon, one of like the saddest original songs ever made for a movie, and you're just kind of left in like devastating disbelief. But like Seth said, I think everything about this film is just it's beautiful. The landscapes, the wide shots are gorgeous. This Armie Hammer, Timothée Chalamet, this core relationship we're kind of watching unfold. It's really sweet. And this is where I think Luca is like weird, I guess. Like this movie, it feels real. It feels so raw. It feels like this man actually understands what's going on. And then he drops like, or I guess previously dropped, but then he has other movies in his filmography like I Am Love and Melissa P, where it's like, and even again, I know I'm in the minority, but even Challengers, where like Luca just like doesn't understand like the human experience. So it's very odd. But this is definitely like one of my favorites from Luca. I'll save my ranking for later. But yeah, I absolutely adore this thing. And like I said, it ends off with like one of my favorite original songs from any film ever. And I think Timmy, this is kind of where, I don't know, actually, would you say this is where Timmy kind of like really broke into the scene? This was definitely one of his earlier highly rated films. Obviously, no one really looked towards Interstellar like a
I think so.
movie.
This is the biggest film he was part of. This is like
at this point in his career, I'm looking at his filmography now. This looks like the biggest film of his career. So yeah, I think this is a great movie. I think this is one of Guadagnino's best.
Yeah, Call Me By Your Name. Absolutely loved it. It's been a while since I've watched it too. I still have my rating up there, but it's been about 2 years. the final scene, like you were saying with that song, just with Timmy crying into the fireplace, I think is one of maybe even still up there as like the best piece or moment of acting in Timmy's career. I think it's so heart-wrenching, emotional when he's just sobbing into the fire, because like you said, they don't end up together, but it's not something you're really rooting for to work out, because by nature, it's not a relationship that was healthy for either of them. But like, still, it's like a crushing experience for Timothée Chalamet, like a very pivotal moment in his life as Elio going forward. I think Michael Stuhlbarg plays his dad. I think the relationship between them is really great. There's very few moments between them, but I think Michael Stuhlbarg does an incredible job at trying to understand his son and help him through this devastating experience in his life. But yeah, I think, again, like a lot of Luca's films, even though they are a lot of them are devastating and crushing, they're all just such vibes movies to me. Like A Bigger Splash, like I said, I just love the vibes of it. Just a summer in Italy, very much similar in this. You know, they're biking through the streets, going to see the sights, and then Challengers. I love the vibe of that. I know George didn't, but I think a lot of them are just great vibes movies. But beyond that, I just think Timothée Chalamet delivers, you know, what still could, by many people might consider his greatest performance of his career. Just so great in this, and him and Armie Hammer. I know Armie Hammer obviously hasn't aged well at all, but still just great in this movie. And I think it's just ultimately like a 4-star movie the whole time for me. And then that final scene just like really elevates it, because that final crying into the fire with that song while it rolls through the credits, like it's going through the whole credits, you're just staring into it, very much like Mia Goth and Pearl just staring at you the whole time in the credits. But I'm just weeping during the credits of Call Me By Your Name. I think that's when Luca really breaks out. Timothée Chalamet really breaks out. And I don't have the Oscars in front of me, but I'm sure it was nominated for quite a few. And I think deservingly so. I think it's great. And then, but it's similar thematically to a lot of his earlier films with, kind of forbidden love and forbidden romances that are kind of doomed from the start, but you see unfold. And then we kind of get a little bit of a divergent here when we go to 2018 and Suspiria, which is a remake kind of Dario Argento's Suspiria from 1977, based on the same original source material of Mother Suspiriorum. So the darkness swirls at the center of a world-renowned dance company, one that will engulf the artistic director, an ambitious young dancer, and a grieving psychotherapist. Some will succumb to the nightmare. Others will finally wake up. Starring, once again, Dakota Johnson. They work together in A Bigger Splash, working together once again. Tilda Swinton, another collaboration. She plays 3 roles in this, which is just incredible. And all 3 of them, she absolutely crushes. You also have Mia Goth in this as well. Much longer than the original, almost an hour longer than the original. And this is kind of what I love about this remake, because it is really a reimagining. Like, it has the source material, the source story, but it's not a shot-for-shot remake. There's stuff that pays homage to it. There's a lot of split diopter, a lot of mirror shots, because I watched these very close to back, so I kind of picked up on a lot of these things. The mirror shots, the way it was shot with like kind of the whip pans, and it just felt very similar to paying homage to Argento's version from 1977, but then also just like takes a massive stray. And I think he makes that very clear just visually. He says, everyone knows Dario Argento's Suspiria as vibrant primary colors, and immediately Luca's like, we're going to make this muted and grayscale. And that's not to say like this is an uglier film, which I think it's prettier to look at the Dario Argento version, but I think it's just a visual way of Luca saying, similar to like the way The Shining diverts from the book immediately and kind of says like, this is a completely different story. Don't get it twisted. I think immediately Luca's like, this is Suspiria, but we're taking a totally different look at it, which I love from remakes. I don't want, just to completely just try and copy what the original did, because especially something so beloved in maybe like the premier giallo film, it's going to be tough, and everyone's going to be not wanting you to remake it exactly. So very different while staying true to kind of the overall story. But I like the first one better. I think they're hard to compare. They're very different, but I still really like Suspiria a lot. But George, what are your thoughts on Suspiria?
Yeah, I think they're hard to compare too. And I even said this in my Letterboxd review. Like, I don't know if I like this movie like more or less than the original. I think I'm really attracted to like just this witchcraft storytelling. And I think both the way Dario and Luca like executed, I think just work really well. I think I am slightly more attracted to the vibrant colors of Argento's OG, but like I really like Luca's like muted tone, and he also really commits to like the body horror of this like story, and just how just haunting and uncomfortable it is. And I think in that sense that the bleak nature of like his like vision just works a little bit better for this story. But at the end of the day, I will say I think I do slightly edge Dario's OG. But yeah, I really like this. And I was really surprised to have liked it as much as I I did. I don't remember having liked this movie this much when I had seen it a couple of years ago. Dakota Johnson needs to just be in every movie ever. She 2.5 hours. Obviously, you're in a movie with Tilda Swinton, who is just brilliantly playing three characters, and I still think Dakota Johnson is the standout. I think she puts on the best performance. She is just so innocent. She's so, I don't want to say oblivious, but she's maybe like a little bit naive for a little bit to what's going on around her. And I just think she's just phenomenal in this role. And then her relationship with Mia Goth's character, I think Mia Goth is fantastic. Obviously, a little bit of a smaller role, but she's fantastic. But yeah, I love the two, opposite ways of telling this story. One is very vibrant. One is very energetic and chaotic. This one is very gray. It's very muted, but it's also, I think, a significantly more uncomfortable experience because of how much Luca is committing to the body horror and to the witchcraft. I was reading so much on this film after watching it, just about the choreography and how the choreography is mimicking like 1500s witchcraft. And it's just like, it's insane, Luca's attention to detail here. I know the movie runs long at 2.5 hours. But I truly don't think there's a minute wasted. I think everything is so important. Seth, I believe it was you that wrote in your letterbox review that you don't care for the six act structure. I don't love it. Owen actually just posted a TikTok video basically saying he doesn't love title cards. And I kind of agree. Yeah, there are instances where I don't mind it, but like, here, I like the distinct 6-act structure. I think it makes it like, and this might sound stupid, but it makes it feel like a dance recital where there's like just every single scene just feels very like choreographed differently. It almost feels like each 6 acts was directed by another human being, where like you have a dance recital and then maybe you're jumping from contemporary to ballet to hip hop or whatever. It feels like a dance recital unfolding in front of your eyes, which makes it feel like significantly more sinister. But yeah, I like this. I really like this a lot more than I had expected to like it. Tilda Swinton, I mean, if you don't think she's one of the greats of the century, at least she's one of the greats of all time. Just watch Suspiria. She's brilliantly playing 3 characters. Dakota Johnson is just so good. Like so good in this movie. I just can't get past her performance. But yeah, I'd be keen to rewatch the original. It's been like maybe a year or two since I've seen the OG. And especially now that Luca's version is fresh in my head, I would love to rewatch the original just to like really match them up against each other. But as it stands, I'm not going to give my score rating away. But I do have the 2 movies rated the same. And I really like this movie a lot.
Mm-hmm. Seth.
Difficult one. I think that for the first like half an hour, maybe I didn't actually really like it that much. I think it took getting used to the kind of gray scale, the mundane tone, because I was expecting Suspiria, or the Suspiria that I know, which is Argento's vibrancy. But it worked after a while. I think that for the first half, I kind of found it a bit over-edited. I didn't really like the whole 6-act structure gimmick, but I get why people do, because in a contest like this, it kind of works. And not great from a visual standpoint, but it didn't take me too long to kind of give in to this kind of more surreal, I guess, manipulation of the story. And also more of a confrontation, because there's a lot more into this one in terms of kind of post-war generational conflict that he goes into, like in the scenes with Tilda Swinton's, well, one of Tilda Swinton's characters specifically. And I think that there's a lot more here that could, go upon that could become more identifiable upon multiple watches. I definitely prefer the original, but I think this has also a lot going for it. I do think for me this one is a bit too long for the source material, but I also echo what Tyler said, and I think that Luca Guadagnino went about this the right way, instead of utilizing a shot-for-shot remake similar to what we've seen before, which I don't think is necessarily always bad, because I don't mind Psycho, for example, even like, well, compared to the original. But I think, whereas that's kind of shot for shot, I think I like when people take these jumps and manipulate the source material into kind of their mindset and their goals with it. So I like this. I think it's good. It took me a bit of getting used to it. I think the ending's fucking mental, and I thought the ending was great, and I really like that bit.
Do you like the change up of the ending out of curiosity?
I do. I like. I think this film. I
think it works for this. Like, if the original had ended similarly to this, where like she like truly becomes that, I think I would have been a little put off. But like for this like gloomy way of telling this story, I think it makes sense.
No, I think so. I think this is a film where I liked this. I really didn't like this for the first 30 minutes. And as it went on, I liked it more and more. And I think the climactic point for that and the real high point was the final act, which I really enjoyed. So yeah, I like this.
Insane.
Yeah, I do definitely prefer the original, but I like the new take. So, I would have preferred in a way to give this a lower score than to give it a higher one, but it be shot for shot for the original and very, very similar to the source material. So yeah, I think I admire it. I do like it. It's just not something I love by any means.
This is also for me like a perfect example of like, and again, I know I'm in the minority, but like Luca is trusting his audience here. He is not like holding our hands and saying, hey, this is what you should feel. This is what you should expect. This is what's going on. He's not telling you anything. He's basically just like is saying good fucking luck. Like, analyze this film however you will. You could ask 10 different people to interpret this film and you'll get 10 different responses. Whereas like in Challengers, he's very clearly just like, hey, follow me through this maze. I'm going to tell you every single point and you're going to know exactly what's going to happen. Respectfully.
Fair enough.
Derogatory.
It's a shame that Dakota Johnson's kind of just known as like the 50 Shades of Grey and Madam Web person to the vast majority of the public, because she is really so great in a lot of these films that we like, I know Seth and I really like The Lost Daughter. I think she's so great in so many films that just not enough people have seen. But I think one thing that this does better than the original, because the original doesn't even really try to tackle it. So it's not like it's a comparison, but the choreography in Luca's version is crazy. The dance choreography have very long sequences, and the body horror is crazy. And that's in the first half, the dance scene when Dakota Johnson's dancing in one room and the other dancers in the mirror room, just getting ripped apart. That's insane. Like
her leg like bent back like behind her ass. I was like, dude, that is disgusting.
Yeah, gnarly body horror in this. It's great. And that final act, like I said, the final scene, I guess, so insane, so off the rails, but it works really well. Now we kind of get into his final film before Challengers, Bones and All. I will say we'll keep this super high level because ReelTok episode 12, if you want to go check it out, we reviewed it in depth. And also,
wow, that's crazy.
If you just search ReelTok Bones and All, that's back when we used to do podcast clips. So we have a whole 29-minute review. That's just a YouTube video from a year ago. That's just a clip of the review. So you can watch it. 29 minutes we go into it. So we'll keep it really high level here.
The audio quality won't be as good, hopefully. You'll see the improvements.
Hopefully we've improved. Yeah, the layout's a little cornier. The thumbnails are awful. But so Bones and All is one that immediately after I gave it a 5-star. And I remember George and I talked at length. He was like, why did you like this so much? And I just absolutely loved it. I dug it up. I ate it up. I've lowered my score a bit over time because it just didn't stick with me. It didn't have that staying power. But I do really want to rewatch it because I did love it so much. Mark Rylance's character, I remember being like an inclusion that I didn't love as much. Similar to Suspiria, which I forgot to mention, is like the political dealings. And I know George said it was a perfect length movie. For me, in my review, I said I would have rather had it either 30 minutes shorter or 30 minutes longer, either remove the political stuff or tie it in more. Because I think the amount of inclusion was a little awkward for me. And that's kind of Mark Rylance's character in Bones and All for me, whereas like his inclusion is an awkward amount. Either have him in more and be more integral to the story, or just like remove him altogether because you would have so much between Taylor Russell and Timothée Chalamet to work with that you don't really need him. So I feel like just a little awkward amount of inclusion there. But Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross are on the score once again here. And yeah, I just really dug Bones and All. It's like a coming of age drama romance. It's also like a horror with like a very bloody explosive conclusion. Very like hard to peg into one genre for what this is. And it's really kind of a culmination of all we've been talking about from Luca, with very much elements of Suspiria with some gnarly, bloody, gory elements, while also being very much a forbidden romance story. And it's just a very interesting culmination. I'm not saying it's a magnum opus by any stretch of imagination, but I'm saying it's kind of a summary of everything he's kind of done leading up to this point, which is kind of what I mentioned about in like my I Am Love review, and even Melissa P to an extent, where like I don't think he tackled him well, but so many elements he had in there I feel like I saw him tackle in his later films, going through his whole filmography. Like he honed it in a bit. He figured out how to nail the themes he's trying to go for, even though the underlying themes he was trying to kind of tackle throughout his entire filmography. But yeah, like I said, we'll keep it high level for Bones and All. But George, what are your thoughts on Bones and All?
Yeah, I the first part you said where it's like I had no problem with this film at all. Just like over time, it's just like left my brain. In a big way, I rate movies, which I would imagine you guys would agree, is just like how much I like tend to rewatch them. But yeah, I think this is one of Luca's better. I typically am more attracted to, I would say, like a blend of genres. I don't know if you guys have seen Jane Schoenberg's We're All Going to the World's Fair, but like kind of like
though.
Yeah, it's like a weird like comparison, but like they're both like coming of age horror, very uncomfortable like narratives. Obviously wildly different in story and execution. But like this blend of like coming of age horror, it is very similar. So that's like weirdly like the first movie I was drawn to. But yeah, I think from my point of view, like I said, nothing offensively bad here. Definitely one of Luca's brighter and better films. I just haven't had the desire to rewatch it. I'm not big on cannibals, believe it or not, just not my vibe. I'm sure they're great people, but I just don't enjoy watching people eat people, and for the most part, this film was very uncomfortable. So I just haven't like been drawn back to rewatch. I would be curious to rewatch it just to see how my thoughts have held up from episode 12, which is obviously a very long time ago. But as it stands, I don't know. I might have even removed my rating from this film. It might have been one of those films. It's not. I lied. I still have it rated, which is a pretty accurate rating. But yeah, I think this is great. Taylor Russell, phenomenal. Timothée Chalamet, obviously always delivering. And in the grand scheme of Luca's filmography, definitely one of his better.
Seth?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I haven't watched it since release, so again, you might be better to go and listen to our old episode. But from memory, really liked it. I think I love the kind of vast rural kind of road trip atmosphere it provides. I think Timothée Chalamet and Taylor Russell are both great. Didn't love and probably won't continue to love. I watch it again. Mark Rylance's character, similar to what Tyler said, don't really think he added much from memory. I think it's unhinged. I think it kind of dives into the metaphor as literally as possible, but it also has this kind of warm undertone and this kind of need for love and connection, which obviously we see throughout the film. I really like it. I think it was really, really good. I definitely agree with Joe. I think it's one of Luca's best efforts. And yeah, I do want to rewatch actually, because I want to see if my opinions change. But as of then, I really liked it. But you'd probably be better just listen to episode 12.
All right, now we're going to get into kind of our ranking, unless you want to start another hour discourse on challengers.
I'm good.
Rankings, Luca Guadagnino. We'll do our 8-7-6, in one bunch, and then we'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, kind of alternating around the call. So, Seth, we'll start with you. 8-7-6.
8 challenges. Dub George. No, let's calm down. 8 Melissa P, which I imagine will be consistent. 7 The Protagonists, and C I Am Love. 1.5 might go down to 1. I spoke about it, to be honest. 1.5 for Miss P, 2.5 for The Protagonist, and 3 for I Am Love.
George, you're 8-7-6, or well, it's 7 and 6. I guess
mine's 3-7-6 because I didn't watch A Bigger Splash. So my 7 at a half a star is Melissa P, and my 6 at a 1.5 star is The Protagonists.
All right, and then I do have Cam's ranking. He sent it to me. So 8 for him is Melissa P, 7 I Am Love, and 6 The Protagonists. And for myself, 8 Melissa P, 7 The Protagonists, and 6 I Am Love. So we all had the same ones in there, just a little different order. Now we're getting to the top 5. Number 5, Seth.
Am I just saying 5?
Yes.
The biggest splash, should I say? 3 out of 5.
Okay. George?
My 5 at a 2 stars is I Am Love.
Cam's number 5 is A Bigger Splash at 3, and my number 5 is Suspiria at 4. So now Seth, number 4.
My number 4 is Suspiria at a 3.5.
Okay.
So
okay.
That's jokes that Tyler's 5 is a 4-star, but my 5 is a 2-star.
Yeah, I mean, it's expected. I'm the highest on El Nino, and you're the lowest.
Yeah. My 4 also at a 2-star is Challengers.
Cam
derogatory.
Cam has Suspiria at a number 4 for him at a 3-star review. And then for me at number 4 is A Bigger Splash at also a 4-star review. So yeah, getting into the 4s for me now, but going on to number 3 for Seth, which I'm interested to see what it will be.
It's called by your name because that's where I anticipate it to be. I think this would be like around a 4, so this might be like around the first 4-star for me, but I just don't know. But this is on guess.
George, your number 3?
My 3 at a 3.5 star is Bones and All.
Okay. Cam has at number 3 Bones and All as well at a 4-star, and my number 3 is also Bones and All at a 4-star. So now we're getting on to number 2 for Seth.
2 is Bones and All at a 4-star.
Do we want to just do 2 and 1 at the same time?
And
yeah,
1 is Challenges with the 4.5. Oh, yeah.
Okay. And George, 2 and 1.
My 2 is Call Me by Your Name. I'm sure when I rewatch it'll be a 4-star. And then my number 1 at a 4-star is Suspiria.
Cam's number 2 is Call Me by Your Name at a 4.5 star, and his number 1 is Challengers at a 5-star.
Wow, Cam be loving Luca. I didn't realize.
Well, I mean, I guess his number 4 is Suspiria at a 3-star, but then he has a 4-star, 4.5, and a 5.
I guess the top 3 then.
Yeah, for sure. My number 2 is Challengers at a 4.5, and then number 1 for me is Call Me by Your Name at a 4.5. But I do want to rewatch Challengers, and I definitely need to rewatch Call Me by Your Name, and I do want to rewatch Bones and All as well. The top 3 aren't really shifting around too much for me, but we're kind of all over the place on Luca a bit. But for the most part, similar groupings of where we're kind of ultimately have them land. It's just a matter of how high or low we are on them.
I think it's obvious that. I think for all of us that his career, apart from Georgia Challengers, mostly his career has progressed positively over time. Like his first 3,
I'd agree,
are the lowest on all our ratings. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So George, you're messing up the system, man.
Yeah, I'm really throwing it off with Challengers, but that's
actually no. Tyler, Bigger Splash, you messed up as well. So doesn't matter. All good.
Well, there's our Luca ranking. We've done an extensive Luca ranking talk through his filmography. I will mention his upcoming projects. Actually, crap, I want to pull up his IMDb again. I closed it out too
28
early.
Upcoming projects or something. Man.
Yeah, he has a ton of stuff. So he does, yes. But I want to pull this up. But the next film he has coming out this year is going to be Queer. I believe it's coming out in the fall. I don't know if there's a hard release date on it. But Queer is coming out this year. It's going to be starring Daniel Craig, and it's also going to be starring Rafe from what's that show? Outer Banks. So a different kind of Rafe instead of Rafe Fiennes. We got Rafe from Outer Banks, but should be great. I'm really excited for it. I think it seems like it's like bread and butter Luca, that he's kind of excel with this project, and the cast is obviously something to be very excited about.
Jason Schwartzman too.
Oh shit, yeah, okay, Jason Schwartzman, yeah, a lot to be excited about there. Jason Schwartzman, Daniel Craig, and
Leslie
Mann. Drew Starkey is his name. Drew Starkey. So great cast coming out later this year. Then we have Camere Separat. It's something not in this language, so I don't know how it's pronounced exactly. But Leah Seydoux and Josh O'Connor in it in a romance. So hell yeah, great cast. Josh O'Connor killing it this year with La Camera and Challengers, and
it's being wasted on this film.
Yes, they did The Beast this year, which is great, which you guys are going to see soon. Which George might hate.
Great cast, a romance spanning Milan, Paris, London, and Florence over 3 years. So another.
I got to give my Guadagnino hot take that I texted you guys about.
Oh yeah, go on. Have you not given it already many times?
No. It was not. Well, one of the hot takes was that M. Night is a better filmmaker. I don't even think that's
not a hot take.
I think that's a normal take. Although Suspiria and Call Me by Your Name are better than anything M. Night has done. But my hot take, I'm gonna say my hot take, and it's gonna get a reaction out of you, and then I'm gonna explain it. So let me explain it before you guys.
It's not. You're not gonna say the Russo brothers are better than him, are you?
Okay, that is an insane snipe. That's a crazy snipe. Okay, so let me say my thing. So yes, that's true.
No.
Here's my hot take, and then let me explain it. Luca Guadagnino is no better than the Russo brothers. Let me explain. The number one criticism on the Russo brothers is that they either need source material or they need someone else writing their movies. And if they don't have either of those, their films suck. Suspiria, source material, good movie. Call Me by Your Name, not written by Guadagnino, good movie. Bones and All, not written by Guadagnino, good movie. I Am Love, written and directed by Guadagnino. The Protagonists, written and directed by Guadagnino. Melissa P., written and directed by Guadagnino. When he isn't writing his films, awesome. When he is writing his movies, no better than the Russo brothers. He has no idea what he's doing with a pencil in his hand.
George, I actually really, by the way, I sniped this like crazy.
That was a crazy snipe. I can't believe you pulled that out of here.
You don't think they're better directors than Luca? Directors, like,
no.
Just having to think about it's a little red flag.
I need you, George.
I think The Winter Soldier is better than everything Luca's done.
Winter Soldier's good, though. Winter Soldier's good.
I need you to go and tweet this for reactions, because I won't give you this because I think it's quite commendable, but that would be the funniest fucking thing.
I think people would free. I think that would actually give Doug an aneurysm.
I would love you to do that, and I would love Cam would probably quote tweet it with something like "when your enemies become your allies" or some shit like that, because he's like, "Shit, Russo brothers have to be on your side here."
I don't think Cam would agree with that though. Would he?
That's my hot take. That Luca
that is a hot take. I'll give it
no better than the Russo brothers when it comes to like writing and source material. Like when he's doing it on his own, dude is lost. Dude's got no idea what he's doing.
To be fair, right? Carry on, because I just want to chat something.
Oh, I'm done. That's it. That's my hot take. I apologize.
Yeah. Sorry, I was a little disconnected the last couple of minutes because I was supposed to record a trivia 10 like 30 minutes ago, and I kept pushing it back, and now we're ultimately like just rescheduling it. So I'm like, fuck, I fucked up, guys. Sorry, this podcast went longer than I thought, so I had to reschedule a trivia 10. But we're good. We're good. Seth, are you looking up something, or should I move on to other Luca projects?
No, move on. It's fine.
All right, so he has burial rights. Also, a young woman is charged with a brutal murder and sent to an isolated farm to await execution, starring Jennifer Lawrence. These are all like Luca's coming in hot. And Luca's time is here. Got a Jennifer Lawrence film now. Then The Lord of the Flies. No cast is attached, but obviously everyone knows the book. A group of boys are deserted on an island and descend into savagery. Everyone's familiar with the book as well. And then the final one, Find Me. And it says plot unknown, sequel to the 2017 film Call Me By Your Name. So it looks like a more Call Me By Your Name. But Seth, you got your thing you're looking up?
George,
let's hear it.
So Stanley Kubrick.
Oh my God.
His first two films, Fear and Desire and Killer's Kiss, are by far his worst films.
Yeah, did he write and direct them?
He did.
Stanley Kubrick no better than the Russo brothers.
No.
Stanley Kubrick needs a Stephen King book to succeed. That's all I'm hearing. He needs a Stephen King book to succeed. He needs 2001: A Space Odyssey. That was a book. It's Stanley Kubrick.
Books. Everyone, that is. If you,
Stanley Midbrick.
There's no way you believe that.
All I'm saying, like until you show me that you can write and direct on your own, you're no better than the Russo brothers. Especially in Guadagnino's case. Fucking mid-ass guy. Watch Top Gun Maverick. Watch a real fucking movie.
Oh, that is so cool.
I don't even know what to do with that information, but all I will say is that Luca Guadagnino's upcoming projects are just like a bunch of hydrogen bombs, like with casts that are absolutely crazy. I can't wait for him. His work rate's insane. He also has TV shows he's working on as well. So his work rate's gone through the roof. But we'll end our Luca conversation there, and we'll get into, like I said, the trailers and movie news this week are super light. Because normally how we go through it is like when we're preparing the rundown, we like go through like, you know, discussing film updates, all the news aggregators of the last week. And while I was scrolling through for like the days, I was like, man, there's really been not much this week for movie news, but there's some we'll touch on. But we'll start with the trailers. Deadpool Wolverine trailer releasing in theaters July 26th. Cam's not here, but I know he's pretty excited for it. George, I'd say you're second in command in terms of level of excitement for it. How do you feel about the trailer?
I mean, I think the trailer looks fine. I've seen a lot of like criticism on just like, it's like they're so blatantly standing on like, what is it, a sound stage or something where like just everything in the background is like dull and crap. But it's hard not to be excited. Like I'm very open about Ryan. Oh my God, what's his fucking name? Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool and Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I think they are two of the best superhero castings we've ever seen. And I'm a fan of Deadpool movies. I obviously love Logan. I love Days of Future Past. So I'm excited to bring Hugh Jackman back. Very curious how they're going to do it. It's very obviously not like this is an alternate version of Wolverine. But yeah, part of me is nervous and part of me is very excited.
Seth, how about you?
I haven't seen Deadpool. I have
But
no
I
idea.
mean, the trailer. What do you think?
I haven't seen it. I honestly, I'm not even just. I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of people complain about the
Color
grading. Yeah, I don't think people actually know what color grading means all the time, to be honest. But I don't know. I don't think it looks that bad from what I've seen. I'm gonna watch. When does it come out? Is it soon-ish?
July.
Okay, I'm gonna watch. I'll watch I'll watch Deadpool 1 and 2 before then. I might even stick off Logan as well. Who knows?
Yeah, I think that's a good all-encompassing one to watch if you're just wanting to get the whole X-Men story. But yeah, I mean, I really like. Well, I like Deadpool. I really like Deadpool 2. I liked it more for some reason, but it's just one of those things. Like Ryan Reynolds, it's comedy. It can get overdone, but I think in Deadpool's like where I really like it. Whereas like Free Guy, I didn't love it as much in that. But I like the Deadpool movies. I think they're fun. I think they're silly. Not like a movie that blew me away or by any stretch of the imagination, but I had a good time with it. I think his trailer looked fine. I think, we kind of saw the stills of like the 20th Century Fox like logo or like being in the rubble in the background. I saw someone tweet saying like, I think Disney is like grossly overestimating how much like the common person knows or cares about the whole Disney buying the X-Men rights from acquiring Fox. But I think it'll probably just be a quick joke or two. Like, I don't think it'll be too much, but if it is a lot, then I think they're really overestimating how much the general audience will know or care about that. I saw one tweet. It's not a funny tweet, but in regards to the color grading, it was like a still of Hugh Jackman and X-Men Origins Wolverine, and then the ones by Deadpool Wolverine. And they're like
inside and outside. Is that the one you're on?
Yeah, but they were like, why can't what happened to like our tanned up king? And like the top comment was like skin cancer. I'm like, yeah, that's probably why they're not. But I mean, like obviously you can like spray tan or like color grade differently.
I just saw one. They were like complaining about it, and it's like, don't get me wrong, I'll fucking shit on Marvel best of times, but like some of them were crazy. They're just bringing up the most ridiculous circumstances.
Right. It's the thing with Marvel nowadays, especially, is like trailer reactions are going to be kind of preconceived ideas before people come out into it, and like Marvel's playing into it too as well, where they're not going to be the most visually appealing films. But I think this is similar to Joker 2. I think they're kind of doomed from the start, where people are just going to go into it with their mind kind of already set up. But for me, I like
Deadpool. Will make fucking loads of money though. It's the only MCU film of the year, and it's Deadpool,
right.
Logan, whatever. This will make maybe $1 billion. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like this probably will.
Maybe, yeah.
Whatever.
It'll be really interesting. We haven't really seen Marvel have to do this, where they're going to put all their marketing energy into just one film as opposed to so many. Yeah. But I wouldn't say I'm excited for it, but it's like a film I'm going to watch, not begrudgingly. Like I'm like going to go see it on my own volition, even if we didn't have a podcast, but it's not like, not on the top of my most anticipated list. But I think the trailer looked fine. I think a lot of people reacted very positively and very negatively, whereas I watched it and I was like, yeah, it's just, in the middle. We also got a trailer for The Watchers, directed by Ashana Night Shyamalan, starring Dakota Fanning, in theaters June 7th. Big week for the Shyamalans. They had the, Trap trailer last week. This week we got The Watchers. I guess not comparing the films, but like The Watchers and Trap, what's the difference in hype level between you two? So Seth,
weirdly, I think I'm a little bit more excited for The Watchers conceptually, and I'm still really excited for Trap, obviously, because I love them and whatever. But I think this looks really. I mean, they both do. I think this looks like this looks like my shit. Do you know what I mean? I think this looks great. I'm really, really excited for this, and there's not much difference between the two, but this one in particular, especially the recent trailer. Yeah, I'm really in.
Yeah, they both look awesome. I'm very excited for both of them. I think the only thing that's gonna make me a little more excited for The Watchers is it's a debut. I want to see what Ashana Knight's got compared to M. Night, who this is his like 10th, 11th, 12th film.
She's like 23.
It's crazy.
Shit, insane.
But in terms of like the plot and the trailer and like what the film looks like is going to be, they're both the same level for me in terms of excitement, which is both like very high. They're both very intriguing concepts. George, how about you? What do you think of The Watchers?
Not even like a shot at M. Night, but I think I'm more excited for The Watchers. For the exact same reason you just said, Tyler. It's like just someone new on the scene. It's going to be a refreshing eye, hopefully. And I mean, you guys know my love-hate relationship with M. Night. Although I will say, I did tweet some shit about the Trap trailer. I'm excited for Trap. I actually think it looks like not bad. And I do love Josh Hartnett, so I'm excited to see him in more projects. But yeah, as it stands, I think, like Seth said, just conceptually, I think I'm more excited for Watchers, and also just someone new on the scene is always exciting, especially, if they're a Nepo baby, it's just cool. Like, okay, let's see what M. Night's daughter can do.
I will say that I didn't know this. I just looked at the letterbox. She was actually the additional director, and she helped out with the direction on Knock at the Cabin and Old. And I really like Knock at the Cabin, especially. So,
all right,
yeah,
forget everything I just said. If she was involved in Old, I am no longer
Old's
excited.
cool, man. Chill.
Yeah,
I will say
cool.
Old's
cool.
old.
Some dude's named mid-size sedan. That's so silly, guys. It's so.
I will
cool.
say
Fuck
that
off.
visually, Old is really good. Visually, Old is really good.
Visually, Old is very good. I'm staring at a fucking canyon and water all movie.
Visually,
you guys are
really
pulling
good.
at strings defending M. Night. Old
You're
is
just
good.
defending the Russo brothers.
My God. I'm gonna make a movie and name someone Poland Spring Bottle, and you guys are gonna think it's all silly.
No, mid-size sedan is stupid. Mid-size sedan is stupid. I'll give you that. I didn't think
it is, and I get it to that because I know why you wouldn't like Old, because Old is like I don't really love Old, but I'm saying Old direction-wise, I think that visually it's really exciting. And
oh my God,
Knock
what
at
if
the Cabin,
we
I
take
do
the Curious Case of Benjamin Button and just do it stupider? That's
I'm gonna rewatch Old this week because the only time I've ever seen Old is at a drive-in, so it's like very not.
I think for me, Knock at the Cabin is like one of his best recently, especially. Like I think it's better than Glass and Old, and
is there another one in between them? I don't think
maybe Split. No, that might have been before.
Well, that was before Glass, but
yeah, of course. Yeah, but I really like Knock at the Cabin, so I think it's a good sign that she's actually had some work before, I guess, like actually worked on the film and stuff like that. But
yeah, she's been involved on the sets and like been around M. Night.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely.
But speaking of directorial debuts, I missed this one when it was tweeted online. I only just saw it before Challengers, the trailer for Blink Twice, directorial debut by Zoe Kravitz. Two Nepo Baby directorial debuts. So Zoe Kravitz's turn, starring Channing Tatum, in theaters August 23rd. Basically, kind of like similar vibes like Glass Onion, where these people get invited on a trip to like this luxurious island that's a party, and then slowly, not like Glass Onion, but in terms of like the whole luxurious party on an island where there's a bunch of privileged people. But then it starts to take a turn and almost got vibes of The Menu a bit, but in a different way. It gets very sinister and things aren't what it seems. Almost, I mean, we talk about Suspiria, seems like some witchcraft, something's going on that's haunting and condemning this island. I thought it looked interesting. I think the trailer showed a shit ton because the trailer just kept going and going before Challenges. I don't know how long. But yeah. But what were you guys' thoughts on Blink Twice? We'll start with Seth.
I don't actually think I watched it all, to be honest. I saw a few clips about it. I honestly don't think I watched it all. I had no idea that she was making a film. But the cast is like, it's got like Kyle MacLachlan, I think, like Channing Tatum. There's a few other people. I think it's got the kid from, not kid now, but you know the guy who was in Sixth Sense, as in the kid, Haley thingy. He was in
something Osment.
He was in that Zac Efron film. What was it called? The like Ted Bundy one.
Extremely shocking, wickedly vile.
Yeah. Pretty sure he was in that. So listen, I haven't actually watched the trailer fully, but I had no idea it was coming out. The cast is pretty cool. So
I mean, I'm excited to see a Zoe Kravitz debut. George, what do you think?
Yeah, I didn't know this was a thing until my Challengers screening because they played the trailer beforehand. I don't get the vibe of it. For a while, I was getting Glass Onion vibes, and then I was getting like psychological horror vibes, and then I was just getting like just vibes. So I did like tonally, I have no idea what this movie is. But I don't know. Channing Tatum's cool. I've always liked him, so cool to see him back on the scene. I don't know. I don't know what to feel. I didn't really care for it, honestly.
Yeah. Final trailer of the week, The Exorcism. We don't have to go too deep into this because it's in theaters June 7th. Just wanted to bring it up because everyone's talking about how Pope's Exorcist with Russell Crowe last year. Now he's in The Exorcism. So kind of funny. He's just back-to-back in Exorcism movies. And I haven't even seen nearly all of them, but it just feels to me as someone who hasn't watched all of them, it's just like it's just so overdone at this point. Like the Exorcism type movies all the time.
I feel like for a while, it was like early 2010s, every horror film seemed to be like a Hollywood-based horror film would seem to be an Exorcist film. And then it feels like there wasn't many for like a good amount of time other than like the Conjuring and stuff like that. And then recently, the past like 2 years, there seems to have been like loads, and they're all like very, very similar. So it is kind of bizarre. I didn't watch was it called Pope's Exorcist, the one last year or the year before? Didn't watch that one. I have no idea. But yeah, I have no idea what this film. It just seems to be a lot of Exorcist films at the moment, though. It's quite annoying.
I like the Pope's Exorcist. I didn't love it. It was just fine, little silly movie. Russell Crowe riding a moped is fun, but yeah, because we had the Pope's Exorcist, we had the Exorcist Believer, we had the Exorcism. I mean, even in Late Night with the Devil, there's like an exorcism in it, and then
Pray for the Devil, fucking shit.
Yeah, and we're just getting so many of them, and this looks to me from the trailer, it's just like whatever. There's going to be a very average movie, and I'm probably not going to see it. But shout out Russell Crowe continuing to get work. But now we're getting news again, very very light this week. So Aaron Taylor Johnson, Jodie Comer, and Ray Fiennes cast in 28 Years Later. Cillian Murphy will not be in part 1, but he said he's going to be starring in part 2 and 3. But we know he is like producing the film series. But great cast. I mean, couldn't really get much better. Aaron Taylor Johnson, Jodie Comer, Ray Fiennes. I mean, I talked about Ray Fiennes, how much I love him. Gonna be exciting to see him in this. Jodie Comer, very like she's not up and coming, but
I'm pretty sure it's Comer.
Is that how it is pronounced? Unless you know something I don't, maybe.
I feel like I've only heard it as Comer, but it's Comer.
I've only heard it as Comer.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't really seen her in much. But I know she's in the Bike Riders coming up.
So good.
Like, I know her accent in the Bike Riders. I hated in the trailers.
No, she is like. I don't know if you guys saw The Last Duel, Ridley Scott's one, 2021. She's like really amazing. Good. Yeah, I think she's like really fucking good. She was in one called Help with Steve Gray a couple of years ago here. Amazing. Aaron Taylor Johnson's really good, and obviously Ray Fiennes, we've touched on it. It's a bit sad that Killian, because there was at the start when these started coming out, there was things like Killian's going to come back, and there was a lot of rumors and stuff about that. So I was excited. Bit shit about that because I would have liked to have seen him back. But I mean, you can't really ask for a better cast to start with anyway. It's just 3 incredible talents. Very exciting. Julia Garner cast alongside Josh Brolin and Zach Cregger's Weapons. It's described as a multi-story horror epic, tonally in the vein of Magnolia. Julia Garner, big casting. She was obviously in Fantastic Four, the casting a couple of weeks ago. Now getting cast in Weapons. Josh Brolin and Julia Garner together seems like a great duo. The plot sounds crazy. Sounds like a very ambitious sophomore film for Zach Cregger's, and this is of course the one we have talked about several times about how there's like the Jordan Peele wanted it so bad and wasn't able to get it. So yeah, I don't know. Seems like a Barbarian is one of my favorite horrors of the decade, probably. I really like Barbarian, so I'm pretty excited for this, definitely. And I really like Julia Garner as well. Comparing your film to Magnolia before we even have like set pics or trailers is like you're setting yourself up for failure. You can't do that. You can't compare. It's definitely ambitious. Wait, it's got Josh Brolin. One of the best movies of the century, and that's like the first. Like I don't know. Like don't do that. Yeah, very high expectations. Very high expectations. Humble yourself, because now I'm going in thinking, okay, I'm about to watch the greatest of all time. Well, I mean, if Jordan Peele was so pissed off that he didn't get the screenplay, maybe it will be the greatest of all time. Oh, is that this? Okay, yeah. I remember which film it is now. Yeah. Yep. When does this come out? Is it this year or was it next year? I don't know. It's a release date. Oh, no. Yeah. Okay. Aaron Sorkin is writing a movie about January 6th, described as a quasi-sequel to The Social Network that follows the rise of misinformation for profit online that may have led to the January 6th siege on the Capitol. Just a movie that doesn't need to happen. And George speaking about Magnolia, like how you shouldn't set it up to be that. Like Aaron Sorkin, don't ever call anything a Social Network sequel if you're not going to give us a Social Network sequel. We don't want to see a January 6th invasion of the Capitol. I saw so many quote tweets like worst movie of all time incoming. Yeah. Why would he be doing this? But like how is this even a sequel to The Social Network? Because probably just like with Facebook groups and people getting all amped up, but like has nothing to do with like Facebook as a company. That is mental though. Like the whole concept of that is weird way to advertise your film. It's almost like he knew everyone's gonna hate on the reaction to it, so he's like, "It's a Social Network sequel, though, guys." So it's like, dude, stop that. Unless you have, it'll be good. Like Jesse Eisenberg as like Mark Zuckerberg, and I don't know, a Social Network sequel just genuinely. It's way more interesting to me than January 6th. Like, because obviously Social Network ends with like Facebook is a baby company. And since then, we've obviously seen them take over literally the world and get involved in countless controversies. Yeah, give me that. Yeah, I don't want to see this, but Aaron Sorkin, and have fun. And then final piece of news, a new Evil Dead movie is in the works from director Francis Galuppi, the Last Stop in Yuma County director. I know you two are very keen on, look at hey, you missed it, Seth. He just did it again. I think he thumbs up the camera, and then an emoji came up. I just saw it. It's fucking weird. Oh, he did. Why is that all my shit? See, finally proof that I wasn't the one who did it. I think George is some weird Mac setting or something. I need to turn that shit on, man. I mean, every Evil Dead film is always good, and I have no reason to believe that another Evil Dead film won't be good. So that's it. Try a thumbs down. Thumbs down. Who's the director on this one, Tyler? Francis Galuppi. It says The Last Stop in Yuma County is the only thing that I had listed on the discussing film. I don't know who that is. Is Raimi directing it? Sorry, producing it.
I don't know. I would assume so. I feel like he kind of like has the right because he produced the Fade Alvarez's, right?
Yeah.
So I'd imagine he's going to be attached because I feel like he kind of owns the IP of Evil Dead. But
they're all good. It'll probably end up being good anyway. So
it's fun. Previous directors have kind of taken their new spin on the Evil Dead. Like, they keep the same lore, but give a fresh take on it. And I just hope Gillespie brings the same energy, gives us something fresh and new while staying in the same universe. But that's really it for the movie news. Lighter this week, but we went in depth on Luca Guadagnino, had an all-time conflict and beef between George and Cam.
How long is this episode?
No beef, just fundamental differences.
It's probably like a 3-hour episode again, something like that. I don't know.
Jesus
long one.
Christ.
Had to reschedule some trivia 10s as a result, but all for the betterment of Real Talk. So obviously we love doing this each and every week. Love getting into it. I loved that Seth and I got to be almost like front row seat spectators to the 20-minute beef between Cam and George. But thank you to our executive producers, Stefan Johnson, Sean Morales, and Stefan Nieburik, as always, for making this 3-hour episode happen. This week on the Real Talk Podcast, on Thursday, we're going to be drafting the best Fortnite skins ever. Very fun, silly draft. So be excited for that one on Thursday. And then Friday, for patrons, if you're not a patron, you're going to want to become a patron now, because any tier, you're going to be able to see our exclusive episodes. And Friday's exclusive episode this week is Mad Max Fury Road. So you're going to want to be here for that, because we go talk about it at length, how excited we are for Furiosa, predictions of how we think it might tie in, maybe not tie in, but great episode coming on Friday. But yeah, you'll be seeing us on Real Patreon. Other than that, we'll be seeing you Real Talk episode 86 next week, which will be a Ryan Gosling special. So make sure you leave a like button, comment down below who won the battle between Cam and George, or was it like challengers? Did they come together in one happy being and move together for the betterment of each other going forward? We'll have to wait and see. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.